Chapter 448. This special guest competition was full of surprises, but it also gave everyone a pleasant surprise. The first 10 minutes were a leisurely vacation style, but after 10 minutes, the style suddenly changed, as if it had entered the horror segment. Team 9 continued to lose one player every 30 seconds, and no one was affected. This gave people an uncontrollable sense of panic. And the boss of this match could always hide after quickly finishing off a player. Even if Team 9 could see his silhouette, they would lose track of him. Who knew, they might even be eliminated when the time was up. This style. This is. Schwarzer's voice was trembling from excitement. He immediately went to the Global Esports Elite chat group and posted a special cannon salute. This shot blew up the previously quiet Elite chat group. One by one, they popped up, especially the 8 that had been tricked by Jinro into challenging Feng Zhao. This I let you run at the start, then mercilessly kill you when you're satisfied style. It's Feng Zhao. After that bitch Jinro stirred up the flames of war between us and Feng Zhao, he slipped away, didn't he? Coward. That's right. It's him. Ha 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 ha, you have to pay for what you've done. To think Jinro would have such a day. Light some candles for old Sheen. I don't have any candles. I'll set off a few more cannon salutes to celebrate. Wait a minute, did you guys forget that your teammates are in this match? Those who were happily setting off cannon salutes. After a moment of silence, the group chat became even more lively. The Elite chat group discussed enthusiastically, and the live audience, as well as those paying attention to this special guest match, quickly passed on the information they had learned. I heard from the niece of my classmate's neighbor's cousin that this boss is Feng Zhao. I just heard from an entertainment reporter I follow. According to someone in the Esports Gods group chat, this boss is Feng Zhao. All sorts of reposts, screenshots, and sharing. Very quickly, more and more people knew that this round's boss was Feng Zhao. Didn't he say he wouldn't be coming? However, the entertainment reporters seemed to have forgotten what they had said a few days ago. Feng Zhao won't be coming. Swallowing words, selective forgetting, and thick-skinned were all essential skills. As I expected, he really came, said a certain reporter who had previously been spreading the news that Feng Zhao couldn't make it, as expected of a legendary figure in the entertainment circles. It's like I'm seeing the point-sweeping demon who occupied the top spot on the individual leaderboards all those years ago. A certain reporter, who had followed suit last month, expressed his admiration for Feng Zhao. Yinzhou's reporters immediately followed up with a wave of bootlicking. At this time, the various continents were united. Naturally, they would support their own contestants and trample on the players of other continents. Do you see that? That's right. It's that boss who slaughters people to his heart's content. That boss who is so handsome it makes people vomit blood. That's our Yinzhou star. As for the entertainment reporters, who had long lost their moral integrity, no one held out much hope. At this time, in the team communication group of Team 9, Jinro, I suspect our boss is here. The others in Team 9. Jinro, that's what I'm afraid of. The others could guess that it was Feng Zhao. Jinro, who felt that he understood Feng Zhao better, could guess it even more. If he still couldn't guess it by now, then he might as well replace him as the team leader. Jinro gritted his teeth. Entertainment reporters scam me. He was still too naive to actually believe the reports of entertainment reporters. Indeed, if the words of entertainment reporters could be trusted, even dogs could fly. If it really was Feng Zhao, then that meant that the plan they had made yesterday was completely useless. Right now, Jinro was really panicking. The remaining people in the team could all see the pattern of their team members getting eliminated. Logically speaking, players who could be invited to the all-star match all had outstanding ability, but here, they still disappeared at fixed intervals, as if they had encountered some unknown and powerful force. Everyone could only watch helplessly, unable to stop it. After some team members understood this, they started to look for escape routes. After all, surviving was winning. But when they came back to their senses, they found it inconceivable. Actually thinking of escaping and not facing the enemy head-on? Before the match, they had clearly said to themselves that no matter what kind of opponent they encountered, no matter what kind of situation they faced, whether it was an official competition or an entertainment exhibition match, they had to face it head-on. This round of the special guest match's public information platform. Huangzhou's Phoenix Bruce, Feng Zhao? On the large screen in the stadium, the image finally changed. Then, everyone saw Feng Zhao's in-game character with 2 scars on his face. Feng Zhao had also been using his own account for the All-Star match. Many people had followed the account of Alive after 500 years, which was as silent as a zombie. But when Feng Zhao had come online, they had actually not received any notifications. That's right, the All-Star match and Battle of the Century were separate records, and the accounts of other contestants would not be displayed in Battle of the Century, but it was still very surprising. Screams suddenly erupted in several places in the stadium. They were not startled, but pleasantly surprised. There were also esports fans crying tears of joy. My Zhao God has finally chosen esports. As expected, esports is true love. When the image changed, everyone saw the smile that appeared on Feng Zhao's face as he faced the camera. But the smile quickly disappeared. His figure was like a ghost weaving through the forest, and the audience's line of sight could not keep up. In Team 9, although there were some people who started to feel uneasy, there were also some who expressed their excitement. Bruce, you were saying that the boss is Feng Zhao? A player from Rongzhou laughed excitedly. Ha ha ha, I never thought that I would actually meet him in-game. I don't need that kind of escape just to waste time. As a Rongzhou person, he had to face it head-on. Feng Zhao, come out. Let me see how great your capabilities are. Just as he finished speaking, a bullet pierced through the other party's head and sent him offline. The half-minute interval had passed, and it was so accurate that it made people's hair stand on end. It must be known that this Rongzhou player had 4 teammates nearby. None of them had actually sensed anyone approaching. The person who had been eliminated by a single bullet was currently sitting at his seat, staring blankly at the "You have been eliminated" notification. Before he had been eliminated, he had caught a glimpse of a silhouette flashing through the forest not too far away. It was too fast, so fast that he had not even had time to react before he had already gone offline. In the game, he had also encountered many experts. They were either fast or had accurate marksmanship, but until now, only Feng Zhao had been able to perfectly evade every pursuit, move at lightning speed, and achieve a one-hit kill every time. Is this cheating? It was really hard to accept. It wasn't just him. Even many of the audience watching this scene had their suspicions. Is this the true survival mode? Did Fiery Bird increase the boss's speed and marksmanship to make it easier for the boss to wipe out the entire team? Didn't they say that Feng Zhao has godly ears? Those ears of his can still hear in the game? I heard that Feng Zhao participated in actual combat during his military service. His innate ability is not bad. But it shouldn't be this exaggerated. Cheating. He's definitely cheating. I've reported him. I have a question. Why did he choose to be an artist? Is the game not attractive enough? Fiery Bird was already used to the doubts of various players and fans, so they calmly responded, there really isn't. When Fiery Bird doesn't allow cheating, no one can cheat. In this match, when the brother wearing the invisibility cloak in Team 9 was kicked out, Schwarzer clutched his chest with a look of empathy. This really makes one's liver tremble. Watching the members of Team 9 continuously log off, Jinro said, it's been a long time since we've seen the rhythm of despair. Many people were waiting for Jinro to be eliminated, especially the 8 people who had previously been cheated by Jinro. They had even specially started recording while watching the live broadcast. They wanted to turn the scene of Jinro being eliminated into a group chat and then immediately send it out. As they waited and waited, Team 9 finally had only 3 members left. Of the 20 that had started the match, only Jinro, Bruce, and Black Sis were left. Bruce, what do we do? Black Sis, although I'm hiding, I think he just glanced in my direction. Bruce, there are 17 seconds left. Jinro, do you guys want to win? Bruce, of course. Jinro, I have an idea, but I have to sacrifice myself a little. Bruce, it's time for the organization to test you. Old Sheen, I will remember you. Jinro, then I'm going. Black Sis, go on. The audience didn't know about the internal exchange in Team 9. They were counting the time. Seeing that the next 30 seconds were almost up, They were wondering whose turn it was next. Then they saw Jinro leap out from his hiding spot and perform a flashy maneuver in front of everyone's eyes. "Boss, don't shoot. It's me. It's the 9th floor." Seeing Jinro raise both his hands in the air, looking confident in his surrender, the audience waiting to see Jinro get shot. "This bitch. Coward. Bah." Chapter 449. Although many people had seen Jinro's cowardly appearance, there were also some who guessed that Jinro's side still had some other strategy. Right. It was definitely a scheme. It was an on-the-spot tactic. Schwarzer, who was sitting in the spectator stands, laughed. "Ha ha ha. You are finished. Old Sheen, you are doomed. You are a captain. Why don't you know that surrendering is useless?" Even surrendering had not been an easy task during their team's internal training. Schwarzer firmly believed that regardless of whether Jinro's sudden move had ulterior motives or whether he was plotting something in secret, he would still be ruthlessly oppressed in the end. The remaining 2 members of Team 9 were also paying close attention to Jinro's movements and counting down the time. Would the rhythm of kicking a person out every half a minute stop here at Jinro? Both inside and outside the game were counting down the time. When the time was up, Jinro was still alive. But when the half a minute was up, Fang Zhao fired a shot below Jinro's feet. Jinro was quick-witted. He understood what Fang Zhao meant and hurriedly jumped back. "Hey, I'm scramming. Then he scrammed away. The audience in the spectator stands waiting to see Jinro get oppressed. Schwarzer, so biased. Fang Zhao had never shown mercy during internal training competitions. Silverlight team members who had surrendered and been oppressed because they were too cowardly, wronged. In the next minute, Black-Hearted Sis and Bruce went offline one after another. Jinro was still alive and kicking. "Bruce? Traitor. Jinro. I said surrendering would definitely be fine. Bruce, bah. I will never surrender to your Silver Wing team. Look at this Black Sister. She would rather die than surrender. Black Sis. I wanted to surrender, but I was too nervous and didn't pay attention. I tripped on a vine and couldn't make a sound in time, so I was eliminated in one shot." Bruce, Jinro was the only one left in Team 9. He had really been a coward to the end. He had also survived to the end. Schwarzer, so biased. Zhao God has changed. He is no longer the cold and emotionless Zhao God that I knew. He would kick someone and cripple them before beating them to death. The other members of the Silverlight team nodded in unison. That's right. Too biased. Back when he had been instructing them, Fang Zhao had rarely used a gun. He would use whatever was at hand. That was brutal. Looking at this match again, no matter how others saw it, to Silver Wings members, it was too gentle. Why had Fang Zhao become so gentle? Was the burden of being an idol too heavy? Or was it because he had been influenced by too much literature and art after a year of advanced studies? He was so gentle that they almost forgot the trauma in their hearts. After Jinro was the only one left in Team 9, the match became leisurely once again. The audience watched Jinro fight monsters online. Sometimes, some of his tricks were quite useful. Jinro explained from the side. The 2 commentators in charge of the stadium. "When will that Sheen fellow shut up and give us a chance?" Jinro was very happy with his commentary. He even felt that when he was older and couldn't keep up with the pace of the game, he could quit coaching and join a professional club and become a commentator. As for Fang Zhao, after Jinro's analysis, he concluded that because this was an exhibition match, the chances of Fang Zhao cooperating with him were extremely high, so he gave it a try by surrendering. After all, there was nothing to be embarrassed about surrendering to his former captain. After all, he was still a member of Silver Wing. They were family. What was there to be ashamed of? Reality proved that Fang Zhao was indeed very cooperative in this kind of exhibition match with a strong commercial and entertainment atmosphere. When he thought about it this way, Jinro felt that he was really quick-witted. Internal training had been stricter and more callous. But now it was different. Fang Zhao had also studied the nature of this kind of competition. After all, it was just an exhibition match. As long as the players were having fun, the audience was happy, and the investors were satisfied, then the goal would be achieved. There was no need to make it so serious that it would be a fight to the death. Other than that, Fang Zhao had long discovered that his ears could still hear all sorts of sounds in the game. There were some slight differences from the sounds in reality, as though they were sounds that had been converted from data stream analysis. This also made his judgment more accurate. On top of that, he had more experience than others. To put it bluntly, he was using a cheat code. Therefore, with the nature of this kind of exhibition match, on the basis of attracting attention, Fang Zhao participated with the mentality of accompanying a little kid to play. In front of a few 100 million viewers, he also left Jinro, the captain of the Silverlight team, some face. Half an hour had passed for the special guest match. Team 9 had one survivor, but no one felt like a winner. This match had been won by Jinro's shamelessness. After the match, Fang Zhao also came out of the VIP lounge with a genial smile and patiently cooperated with the other team members and the audience. After the match, Jinro was ridiculed by his teammates, but he still laughed and said, "At least I helped you guys figure out who the boss is. Look, our Zhao God is still very easy to talk to. There is a saying from the old era, where there is life, there is hope. You can only win if you are alive." The others, pfft. Fang Zhao was rather impressive, but everyone tacitly agreed that Fiery Bird had used a cheat code on him. After all, Fang Zhao was Fiery Bird's product spokesperson. Looking at the other special guests and watching the match recordings, there was no doubt that he had used a cheat code. Following the end of this match, the performance of the members of Team 9 was also made into a chat group and circulated. Team 9's chat group frowny face unbelievable, absent-minded. Who am I? Why did I suddenly go offline? I was awesome. I was very arrogant, but I was insta-killed. Captain, don't shoot. It's me. The video and gif of Jinro's surrender were the most shared. There was a bunch of ha ha ha. What a straightforward coward. As expected of a god-level player in survival mode. His desire to live is extremely strong, doghead smile. I am very interested in the internal culture of the Silverlight team. I wonder if the entire Silverlight team has the same style as Jinro after Fang Zhao left. Regarding this, all the members of the Silverlight team said, "Please do not escalate the captain's behavior to that of the team members." At the same time, Fang Zhao's in-game performance was also intercepted and analyzed. I want to know how Fang Zhao accurately determined the opponent's position. That scene of him kicking off the invisibility cloak. It hurts just watching it. As expected of someone who went through actual combat in the military, I always feel that he has a murderous aura. How ruthless. After all, it was just an exhibition match. As long as everyone was happy watching their favorite esports star, it would be fine. It was all fun, and they would chat and laugh about it. Very few people would be serious about anything. However, Jinro had indeed become popular, the kind that would cross over the entire world. Of course, part of this was because of Fang Zhao. Qin Cowardly 9-level thick-skinned esports god's name had also spread. Although it was a joking nickname, people who were sensitive to such things would also take it to heart. Jinro did not mind. He did not mind at all. Instead, he replied boldly and confidently, "What's wrong with being a little cowardly when facing an old instructor? Yes, we are god-level players, but he is a super god-level player." Regarding Jinro's words, some people were unhappy. An instructor is an instructor. What do you mean by an old instructor? Our Zhao God is clearly so young. There were also people who guessed that Fang Zhao was not returning to the professional esports circles because he did not have a worthy opponent. If someone like Fang Zhao appeared in the esports circles in the future, perhaps Fang Zhao would return? Regarding such guesses, a small portion of people who knew the inside story only smiled silently. Even if a talent like Fang Zhao appeared, it was very likely that he would be poached by the military. Yinzhou Yinbei Retirement Facility. Those old men and women who had retired with their grandchildren or great-grandchildren would gather together to discuss the live broadcasts and related news when they went out for a stroll every day. Regarding this, great-grandfather Fang said, "What's so interesting about this sort of business-oriented esports competition? You are already so old, yet you still watch these things." Recently, great-grandfather Fang had been paying attention to the progress of his thesis defense and advanced studies, so he was not the least bit interested in esports competitions. In less than 2 days, Great-grandfather Fong sent notifications to various chat groups. Hurry, hurry, hurry. My little Zhao is going to the all-star match. Share. Don't you look down on these kinds of esports competitions? Someone asked. Great-grandfather Fong had to defend himself. What nonsense are you spouting? This is called esports. Even if we are old, our thinking cannot be old. We have to keep up with the times. We can't blindly deny it. The military newspaper had even mentioned VR online games before. Sigh. I won't bicker with you old fogies with outdated thinking. After notifying others, great-grandfather Fong browsed through the news while lamenting in his heart. Sigh. If I had known earlier, I would have gone to watch it live. It's all those entertainment reporters' fault. The netizens were right. This year's entertainment reporters really can't make it. Especially that one called Wang Tai. He's even the king of paparazzi. Trash. Great-grandfather Fong browsed through the comments section of the official All-Star Match account on the interactive platform and saw someone saying, praising Fong Zhao's gaming skills is alright, but praising his looks is too much. And so handsome it makes people vomit blood? Great-grandfather Fong, who had 800 layers of filters, expressed, what's wrong with saying, so handsome it makes people vomit blood? From great-grandfather Fong's point of view, this wasn't an exaggeration but a statement of fact. Such a dashing kick makes people vomit blood, just like my style back in the day. As for being too ruthless, full of killing intent, cold and emotionless, etc. Nonsense. My little Zhao has such a good temper. How is he cold and emotionless? He spared one out of the entire team of 20. Chapter 450. The special guest competition's final guest was an old man over 100 years old. He had practically grown up with Fiery Bird. Now, Fiery Bird was flourishing, and the first batch of players were already old. These people were all treasures. After the special guest competition, there were still other events for the Battle of the Century gods to participate in. As a special guest, Fong Zhao didn't participate, but Fiery Bird still didn't let him go. Fong Zhao didn't lack topics as long as he stayed. Fong Zhao had been asked to stay at the All-Star competition grounds for 2 days. Originally, he had wanted to stay for 3 or 4 days, but Imo Lang had been pressing him. In the end, he could only take a step back. 2 days, so be it. While Fong Zhao was at the All-Star competition, Curly Hair was working hard in the Huang Art dormitory. Curly Hair knew that Fong Zhao was going to compete and would be away for 2 days. He had to make use of these 2 days to work hard. There was also a discussion forum in the learning console. Some secondary school students expressed that they couldn't play the Battle of the Century due to their age, but they often watched the live broadcast. There were also some who couldn't watch it themselves and would watch it with their older brothers and sisters. Curly Hair didn't even have the energy to do questions when he saw all this. He ran over to Fong Zhao's collection of limited edition game consoles. He had motivation. He would do a few sets of questions, take a look at the game console, and then do the questions. Otherwise, he would fall asleep. Only with a goal would there be motivation. Curly Hair's current goal was to graduate from secondary school. He decided to give Fong Zhao a surprise. Before Fong Zhao returned, he wanted to obtain his secondary school diploma on the Learning Console platform. He had used the Learning Console to watch so many videos and do so many specialized training questions just for this day. Only if he performed well would Fong Zhao buy him a game console. This was the first time Curly Hair had done so efficiently. When he felt that it was about time, he applied to take a secondary school graduation exam. The graduation requirements were 60 marks out of 100. He had to pass a single subject and meet the overall requirements. After the exam, the results came out very quickly. His overall score was 59 for language. He was just short of 1 point. The system gave an evaluation, failed in single subject, temporarily unable to meet graduation requirements. Nanfeng, who had come back to take care of some matters and take his dog for a walk, opened the door and saw Curly Hair crouching in a corner. Nanfeng's heart immediately ached. This was a 200 million dog. What a pampered dog. Sigh, the dog just can't be left alone at home. Look, the owner went out for a day, and it became like this. How lonely. How pitiful. After settling the matters at hand, Nanfeng put a leash on Curly Hair and brought him out for a walk. When the dog was in a bad mood, it would definitely be better to take him out for a walk. After taking a stroll around the leisure zone, Nanfeng realized that there weren't many people strolling around. Nanfeng was about to bring Curly Hair back when he saw a few teachers and students walking over from the teaching area. More and more people started to gather. After listening to their conversation, Nanfeng realized that the teachers were testing the abilities of this year's graduates. "Io, it's an outdoor performance. Let's go take a look." Nanfeng walked over with the leash. When faced with a group of lecturers and the gradually increasing number of onlookers, the students might be so nervous that their bodies would become stiff. They might even forget their lines, or they might even go offline because they cared too much about their image. The mentors wanted them to let go of their worries and the burden of idols. They wanted them to have the awareness of being good actors. Don't embarrass Huang Art when you're out of school. Because Nanfeng was originally standing here, he was among the onlookers. However, because he was holding the dog, Nanfeng shifted towards a flower bed at the side and let Curly Hair lean against the edge of the flower bed. This way, he wouldn't affect others. This prospective graduate had drawn a crying scene. Based on the scene drawn, there would be a crying process. It would start with soft sobs, then sobs, and finally wailing loudly. Thus, Nanfeng witnessed the valiant acting skills of this year's Huang Art Performing Arts graduates. Although it had clearly started out as a beauty weeping in tears, gradually, her emotions started to intensify and finally explode. The bitterness of suffering a huge blow, followed by the loss of control of her emotions, was rather well acted. After this performance, the audience applauded and the students expressed their gratitude. Just as the teacher was about to let the second student go on stage, he caught a glimpse and suddenly chuckled. "Hey, that little dog is crying." When everyone heard this, they hurriedly looked over. Nanfeng saw Curly Hair's eyes welling up with tears and hurriedly fished out a tissue to wipe them away. Was he moved to tears by the performance just now? Someone asked. Even a dog's emotions can be moved. This shows the acting skills of Huang Art students. Someone chimed in. Nanfeng also felt that this was a factor, but overall, Curly Hair wasn't in a good mood today. He decided to bring Curly Hair back to the dormitory and ask Feng Zhao what to do. He tugged lightly on the leash, but it didn't budge. Not only that, Curly Hair's silent tears also turned into panting sobs. He was crying so miserably. The students, teachers, and onlookers, who had never seen a dog cry like this, were all stunned. A first-year performing arts student whispered to his companion, "I don't want to compete with my seniors. If I had the ability to cry like this, I would be able to graduate straight away." Curly Hair, who had successfully grasped the word graduate, Nanfeng tugged on the leash again, but it still didn't budge. Curly Hair rolled on the ground, kicking his doggy legs and whimpering. Dog version of throwing a tantrum. This action seemed a little familiar. The student who had performed the crying scene just now was so embarrassed that her face turned red when she saw everyone looking over. She really didn't know that dogs had this kind of learning ability. He really cried when he wanted to and rolled when he wanted to. And he even looked like he had suffered a huge blow and was heartbroken. Then, he looked at the dog that was rolling on the ground and making a scene. Students and teachers, that's enough. Whose dog is this? You're here to cause trouble, right? Seeing that the situation wasn't right, Nanfeng picked up the rolling dog and apologized to the teachers and students over there before hurriedly fleeing. The onlookers finally regained their senses and gave a belated round of applause. Spectacular! This sudden burst of acting skills, as expected of Huang Art's dog. He's so engrossed in his acting. There's no trace of acting at all. I thought he was moved to tears. Turns out he's just showing off his acting skills. Wait a minute. That's Feng Zhao's dog, right? The especially expensive one? I searched. That's it. It's worth 200 million. No wonder it's a 200 million dog. Such acting skills. Like owner, like dog. After all, Feng Zhao relied on his own ability to snatch an important role in the godly TV series Founding Era back then. The leading teacher took the opportunity to knock on the heads of the relevant majors. See that? If you don't properly train your acting skills, you might not even be able to compare to a dog. You don't even have the explosive power to make a scene. How can your acting skills be rubbed against the ground by a dog? However, the teachers were also secretly rejoicing. Luckily, this batch of graduates was strong and hadn't embarrassed themselves. Very quickly, the onlookers who had recorded the scene posted the video online or sold it to entertainment reporters and other media personnel. Thus, the teams that had been fighting for the trending topic discovered that they had been defeated by a dog. People who had been paying attention to other events were also attracted by this piece of news. Did this dog enter Huangart with Feng Zhao for advanced studies? Are all Huangart's dogs that strong now? It's time for Feng Zhao's dog to rise in value. But this dog is already expensive enough. What do you know? Whether it would rise in value or not, no one knew for now. However, many interested dog owners had specially called Huangart to ask if Huangart was opening up a dog acting class. Were they planning to groom dog actors? Huangart's people rejoiced once again. Luckily, this batch of graduates was strong enough. Otherwise, there might have been news of Huangart's performing arts graduates being beaten up by dogs. After being provoked by a dog, Huangart's performing arts students were even more hardworking. Otherwise, when they graduated, they might have been criticized by their teachers for being inferior to even dogs. When Curly Hair's news squeezed into the headlines, a certain entertainment company's senior management flipped out during a meeting. What's the use of saying that? It's fine if you can't beat Feng Zhao, but you can't even beat his dog. Feng Zhao, who had seen this piece of news, all right. At least not many people were paying attention to the genius primary school student incident. Feng Zhao felt that his temper was becoming gentler and gentler. Chapter 451. Feng Zhao was very worried. After learning how to cry from Thornhead, Curly Hair had learned how to make a scene from an outstanding Huangart graduate. This kind of drama queen was really unstoppable. Now, he had even learned how to make a scene from an outstanding graduate. After returning from Fiery Bird's All-Star match, Feng Zhao first went to apologize to the relevant Huangart personnel. After all, Curly Hair had indeed affected the work of the teachers and students. Then, Feng Zhao dragged Curly Hair over to lecture him. Curly Hair had to defend himself. I wasn't acting. Feng Zhao, I heard you had a competition with an outstanding Huangart graduate? Curly Hair, I didn't have a competition. Curly Hair had indeed been infected by the performance of the Huangart graduate and had learned how to cry. His emotions and skills were in place. Furthermore, Feng Zhao wasn't at home and there was no one to care about him, so he had exploded. Whenever he thought of his 59 marks and the intense unwillingness he had felt at not being able to graduate from secondary school by a single mark, his dog eyes started to tear up again. Feng Zhao's brows furrowed. This habit of crying at the drop of a hat wasn't good. A bad habit had to be broken. If you cry anymore, I will go to Muzhou to herd sheep, Feng Zhao said. Curly Hair immediately held back his tears. He wouldn't go herd sheep. He still had to fight for his gaming helmet. In the future, he still had to have a terminal that allowed him to surf the internet freely. While Feng Zhao was lecturing his dog at home, the news outside didn't stop. The news of Feng Zhao's appearance at the All-Star match hadn't even cooled down when the dog's acting skills explode. Incident stirred up a series of discussions. Those actors whose acting skills weren't good, but were still jumping around were attacked. The evaluation of acting skills can't even compare to a dog wasn't an insult, but a statement of fact. Whoever objected would see Curly Hair's crying scene thrown in their faces. Huangart didn't have any guilty conscience. Firstly, their graduates were strong enough. Secondly, it was graduation season and also recruitment time. Various schools were busy promoting and frantically snatching talents. This incident gave Huangart another boost. Look, after advancing at our Huangart, even a dog's acting skills explode. Not mentioning the relevant schools and students, some businessmen also started to have ideas about getting Curly Hair to act. In the past, when Curly Hair had been known as the golden competition dog, he had also been invited to perform. However, it had only been a small show back then. This time, the whole world knew about it. After all, this dog had Feng Zhao backing him up, which made him even more valuable. Back then, after Curly Hair had stirred up a storm in Muzhou and won the title of Golden Competition Dog, His value of 210 million had suddenly dropped to 5th place on the global pet value rankings. Now, the expert team of the world's authoritative pet magazine, Pet, had once again given a new evaluation. When the new issue of Pet came out, Curly Hair's net worth rose by another 50 million. With a net worth of 260 million, he entered the top 3, the real version of the stray dog's counterattack. The black street where Feng Zhao had found Curly Hair all those years ago was once again mentioned and became a popular tourist attraction. What? There's nothing to see in that black street? Dirty and messy? I don't care. As long as he had half of Feng Zhao's, no, as long as he had 1/10 of Feng Zhao's luck, he would be willing to walk that street 100 times. Some netizens started dreaming. If only I could pick one up. Don't even think about it. Ever since Feng Zhao picked up this dog on the black street, dogs have not been seen on the black streets. Not just Qi and City's black streets. I reckon it's hard to even see a dog on the black streets of Yenzhou. Now that it has become famous again, don't even think about it. It's hard to even see a strand of dog hair. However, there are indeed quite a number of people who secretly throw them away after raising them. Then, they are quickly picked up by others. Regarding this, Muzhou people who love dogs as much as their lives had a saying. People who raise and then abandon them are not worthy of having a dog. Muzhou people were pleased. Look at our Muzhou, we never see a stray dog. Then look at other continents. Before Feng Zhao's dog's origins were uncovered, practically every week there was news of people being bitten by stray dogs. However, every time Feng Zhao's curly-haired dog was involved, Muzhou people had complicated feelings. Love and hate. There were even quite a number of people secretly thinking about when they could buy that dog back and register it in Muzhou's registry. That way, Curly Hair would be a Muzhou dog. Originally, as time passed, the golden competition dog from back then had gradually been thrown to the back of people's minds. The number of people willing to bid for it had decreased. After all, a dog's lifespan was limited, and its value would depreciate. Who could have expected that this curly-haired dog's net worth would not only not fall, it would actually rise? Some people started to have other thoughts. Looking at the news online, Nanfeng became even more careful. It seemed like everyone was stealing a dog. Looking at the pets on the rankings list, which one of them didn't stay at home and wait on them like their ancestors? Every time they went out, they would have a team following them. Only Curly Hair was like an ordinary dog wandering around the campus every day. This wretched setup was pitiful. Boss, should we do something? Recently, suspicious people have been loitering around the dormitory for advanced students. Huangart's campus has been especially restless recently, Nanfeng said. Graduation season is rather lively. However, Feng Zhao also knew that the recent news about him and Curly Hair had attracted quite a number of entertainment reporters. We really have to avoid it. Coincidentally, Feng Zhao had received a call from the spaceport. After explaining the situation to Imo Lang, he brought Curly Hair to the spaceport's anti-smuggling team for a week and would return after things cooled down. Of course, during this period, Feng Zhao didn't forget about the graduation concert. Imo Lang was keeping an eye on it. The old master was keeping a close eye on the crucial moment of his year of advanced studies. Imo Lang had previously felt that Feng Zhao was a troublemaker. He hadn't expected that even the dog he raised could cause so much trouble. Huangzhou's entertainment reporters had a headache. Many people wanted information on Feng Zhao. Regardless of whether it was his people or his dog, they had to know Feng Zhao's whereabouts. However, Feng Zhao was too good at hiding. With so many people watching, he had suddenly disappeared. The entertainment reporters camping inside and outside Huangart's campus couldn't find him no matter how hard they tried. However, there was so much news in the entertainment circle every day. Many people wanted to snatch attention. As the days passed and they couldn't find any news on Feng Zhao, everyone naturally changed their target. After a week of part-time work at the spaceport, when Feng Zhao returned to school, Huangzhou's spaceport didn't want to let him go. No, people could leave at any time, but they were extremely unwilling to let go of dogs. As for the global pet value rankings, they just treated it as a joke. Is this a pet? What a waste. Feng Zhao still brought the dog back. After a week of part-time work at the spaceport, Curly Hair was much more well-behaved and wasn't as unreasonable. However, he was even more ferocious in answering questions. Fortunately, the language exam wasn't entirely about reading and analysis. Those that were rote memorization were free points for curly hair. Otherwise, curly hair might not even be able to get 30 points on the 100-point scale. Days passed, and the date of Feng Zhao's graduation concert drew closer and closer. Because Feng Zhao was considered a superstar, there would definitely be many people interested in him. The venue for the graduation concert was limited. Huang Art, like in the past, sent out invitations to a few key personnel. Whether they came or not was another matter. After all, Huang Art had sent out invitations, and outsiders couldn't point them out. Feng Zhao was also allocated a few slots. He sent 2 invitations to great-grandfather and great-grandmother Feng. This was what great-grandfather Feng had said earlier. Feng Zhao had also asked great-grandfather Feng if he wanted to send a few invitations to other relatives of the Feng family, but great-grandfather Feng had rejected him. Don't waste it. They won't understand. This was what great-grandfather Feng thought. The slots were limited, and it was enough for the Feng family to have him as their representative. The rest would be left for Feng Zhao to earn favors. For Feng Zhao's graduation concert, great-grandfather Feng had started preparing early and didn't let Feng Zhao send anyone to fetch him. He happily booked a flight to Huangzhou and turned around to find great-grandmother Feng trying on newly bought clothes. Great-grandmother Feng had recently gotten a new hairstyle and bought new clothes and hats. Great-grandfather Feng kept a straight face as he watched great-grandmother try on the new clothes. "You're already so old, yet you're acting like a demon." Returning to his room, great-grandfather Feng opened his wardrobe and took out the 2 new artsy shirts he had bought but hadn't worn yet. After changing into them, he opened another wardrobe. Inside were 5 neatly arranged crutches. Some had been pulled together with people from the compound, while others had been tricked into buying them by advertisements. Great-grandfather Feng picked up a new generation of multi-purpose internet celebrity crutches and swung them around vigorously before tossing them back into the wardrobe in disdain. He picked up another one and posed it in front of the mirror. Tisk! He tossed the second crutch back into the wardrobe. Great-grandfather Feng felt that the color was too flashy and didn't match his elegant and artistic temperament. Among the newly bought crutches in the wardrobe, one complained that the color was too flashy, while another complained that it didn't fit his hand. As expected, internet celebrity products won't do. Picking and choosing, comparing and comparing, in the end, with a rather reluctant look, he picked one. Looking at himself in the mirror, great-grandfather Feng was finally satisfied and flashed a smile that he had practiced for a long time. Hale and hearty, calm and indifferent. Although my hair has turned white, my elegance hasn't faded from my youth. Chapter 452. Feng Zhao's graduation concert was indeed being watched by many people. Those people might not be there for Feng Zhao, but they had to attend the concert. If they couldn't get an invitation, they had to fight for admission tickets. In the past, Huang Art's 12-tone students had packed out their graduation concerts, but many of them were behind-the-scenes workers or focused more on academics, so the public didn't pay much attention to them. This time, Feng Zhao's graduation concert was different. Tickets had already been snatched up even before they were publicly released. People who had been waiting for Huang Art's official platform to start selling tickets were dumbfounded when they saw the big sold-out sign. Huang Art's own school had a hard time getting a ticket, let alone people from other schools. Because Feng Zhao had signed with their company, Silver Wing had been allocated 10 admission tickets this time. But compared to the number of people who had signed with the company, there were still too few. Those who couldn't get tickets could only rely on other means to get admission tickets. In a corner of the company, a few popular artists were discussing in low voices. "Aren't you an actor? What do you need admission tickets for? Do you know how to act well and sing well? Get to know the twin superstars. Only 10 admission tickets? Is this really not Huang Art's hunger marketing?" someone asked. The others looked at him as if he was an idiot. "Do you have any misunderstandings about the God-level advanced course? Do you know what kind of people are the instructors in that advanced course? Huang Art sends out a portion of the invitations to the big shots of the various continents, so the number of admission tickets is limited. Even for Feng Zhao, I'm afraid the number of spots he has is limited. It's already not bad for the company to get 10. Look at the other entertainment companies in Yenzhou. Getting 5 is already considered good. If you can't get admission tickets, you can see if those who are invited aren't going and ask them to forward their invitation to you. Other people might be able to get an invitation, but for Feng Zhao, I reckon it will be difficult. Lizhou. The All-Star game hadn't been able to grab global headlines or garner a satisfactory amount of attention. The statistics showed that only Lizhou was doing well. Other continents had long since been trampled. Thus, Lizhou citizens routinely sent out ridicule. Zero quarreled with people online and then posted, "Just you wait." Then they really waited. As he waited and waited, there was no sound. The people of Lizhou all knew that Sago had a forgetful nature. He bore grudges for some matters, but he would not spend his brain cells on things that he felt were not important. If he was not careful, he would forget. Zero originally planned to stir up some trouble, but he didn't expect to receive Chu Bo's message. Chu Bo wanted to attend Feng Zhao's graduation concert. He scrolled through his moments and saw that Barbara and Midasy had also gotten admission tickets. How could they lag behind in such matters? Zero immediately called Feng Zhao and shamelessly asked for an admission ticket. Then, he ran over to show off to Wu Tianhao. Wu Tianhao had been busy with other things recently, so he couldn't join in the fun even if he wanted to. Zero was even more pleased with himself. Once he was pleased with himself, he forgot that he had said, "Just you wait," and made arrangements with Chu Bo to attend Feng Zhao's graduation concert. Quite a number of people from every continent were paying attention to the news of Feng Zhao's graduation concert. In the past, great-grandfather Feng would not have let such news slip by, but this time, he was not just following it online. He was experiencing it personally. Dressed in an artsy shirt and holding a new walking stick, he arrived at Huangart with great-grandmother Feng. Although he had arrived early, great-grandfather Feng felt that Feng Zhao would surely be very busy. They arrived early and went to visit a few old friends for a few days. This way, Feng Zhao wouldn't be distracted and would only head over to Huangart on the day of the graduation concert. "You do what you have to do. We know where to go." Great-grandfather Feng let Feng Zhao off early in the morning after a short call with him. The two elders tidied themselves up in front of the mirror for a while before hailing a cab to Huangart. During graduation season, Huangart had focused on promoting a few outstanding graduates. As for the advanced studies classes, there were specific spots for them to advertise. Large floating screens were displaying introductions of this year's advanced studies students, as well as announcements of their graduation art exhibitions. Feng Zhao's neighbor, Will, was hosting an art exhibition, while Feng Zhao's was hosting a concert. The two elders stood in front of the publicity screens and took photos for quite a while before sending the photos and videos to their friends in the chat group. "See that? So many formidable people, but our little Zhao is the youngest." After showing off with a chuckle, great-grandfather Feng's smile gradually disappeared as he looked at the publicity photos of the various characters on the large screens. "Do you think little Zhao has been here for a year? Has he? Has he? What's that?" Great-grandfather Feng gave great-grandmother Feng a, "You know what I mean, look." As someone who had always paid attention to entertainment news, great-grandfather Feng had yet to see Feng Zhao rumored to be involved in any scandals. Looking at Feng Zhao's classmates, if they weren't already parents or grandparents, then they were eliminated. Not classmates, but what about fans? "I heard that many young female students are clamoring to attend his concert." The two elders arrived at the concert venue. They didn't enter the hall. Instead, they sat in the lounge outside and observed the people who had come to attend the concert. "What do you think?" "I don't think so." "Hey, old granny, look at that one in the corner. He looks familiar." "I think so too. Is he some celebrity?" "Wait, let me check. He really is a celebrity, but he's married." The two elders spoke in hushed tones or directly sent text messages to communicate. It wouldn't be good if other people heard what they said. As they spoke, a black ball rolled to their feet. Great-grandfather Feng picked up the black ball and squeezed it. It felt pretty good. Great-grandfather Feng was all smiles when he saw a little boy running over. "Little friend, is this your ball?" "Yes. It's called Little Riches." "Here." "Thank you, Grandpa." Great-grandfather Feng had no resistance against children now. He smiled until his face was wrinkled. His gaze followed the child and saw the child run over to a young woman's side. When great-grandfather Fong looked over, the young woman even smiled at him before holding the little boy's hand and leaving. Great-grandfather Fong's smile froze, and he seemed to be in a trance. So many years had passed. He had originally forgotten what that person looked like, but just now, he seemed to recall it. Many years ago, when great-grandfather Fong and great-grandmother Fong were still serving on the Sirius, they had participated in a battle. However, those who had participated in the battle had all signed confidentiality agreements. Even now, they couldn't casually talk about it. During that battle, the people on the Sirius had almost been wiped out. It was only when reinforcements had arrived that they had managed to survive. The one leading the team had been a woman. What he remembered clearly wasn't that person's appearance, but the image of that woman tearing the rebel robot apart. Tearing it apart. Until now, great-grandfather Fong was still traumatized. Although the commanding officer later said that those who had come to rescue had all used the new model of motorized armor, which was why they were stronger, and that there was even a batch of the same model of motorized armor on their ship, great-grandfather Fong's psychological trauma hadn't lessened at all. As someone who had personally witnessed that scene, great-grandfather Fong still felt that it wasn't the case. When he came back to his senses, great-grandfather Fong coughed lightly. He had been in a daze for quite a long time just now. He didn't want great-grandmother Fong to misunderstand. Sigh. This old woman just loves to be jealous. Great-grandfather Fong was about to explain when he turned his head and saw that great-grandmother Fong was staring in the direction where the two people had left. Great-grandfather Fong, what are you looking at? What's there to look at? Let's go. The concert is about to start. Great-grandfather Fong pulled great-grandmother Fong away. Sigh. Old man, that person just now looked a little like. What do you mean? I remember. No, you don't remember. She's the daughter of an old friend, right? Why do you care who she is? It's none of our business. Chapter 453. Also, another book friend has asked me about the name of the main character. Let me explain. Fong Zhao's Zhao is repeated 4 times. The summon of the era is calling. Future heavenly kings is delayed. Please wait a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 454. After entering the concert hall, the 2 elders found their seats. Their seats were closer to the front. Other than the special guests, mentors, and judges, this was their section. Huang Art Arts Center's concert hall was built according to high standards. Practically every seat in the hall could enjoy the same outstanding sound. It was just that some areas were closer to the people on stage, while others were more private. After sitting down, great-grandfather Fong stretched his neck and looked around. He heaved a sigh of relief when he didn't see that figure. The person they had just seen had been a huge blow to the 2 elders, but they quickly forgot about it. This was Fong Zhao's graduation concert venue. Many of the people that appeared were celebrities he had only seen online. Great-grandfather Fong, who paid close attention to the entertainment circles, couldn't recall their names, but as long as he had an impression of them, they would definitely be famous. Great-grandfather Fong felt incomparably proud when he thought about how so many celebrities had come to Fong Zhao's graduation concert. As for everything else, old friends, tearing robots apart, none of that was as important as his great-grandson. Great-grandfather Fong took advantage of the fact that the concert hadn't started to flaunt on his WeChat moments. That bunch of old fogies in the retirement facility definitely didn't have this kind of experience. Because Fong Zhao was very busy today, he had asked Nanfeng to come over and take a look after the 2 elders. Nanfeng hadn't been there for long before he was chased away by the 2 elders to take care of Fong Zhao. Great-grandfather Fong felt that Fong Zhao would probably be so busy that he wouldn't even have time to drink water. He might even fall sick from the stress. He had to be taken good care of. Thus, Nanfeng was chased away again. He didn't have any complaints. On the contrary, he was unusually excited. He had originally thought that even though Fong Zhao was famous now, this sort of concert was more academic, and the people who came would definitely be academics. Unexpectedly, there were so many celebrities. When had Feng Zhao interacted with these people? Also, those rising stars of the music industry didn't follow the same path as Feng Zhao. What were they doing here? It wasn't to the extent of stirring up news. They hadn't leaked anything at all. A portion of the people who had managed to snag admission tickets had the same doubts as Nanfeng when they arrived. A few of these singers had nothing to do with academics, had nothing to do with Feng Zhao, and had no intention of stirring up news. What were they doing here? Other than that, there were also people who were interested in Feng Zhao's commercial value. Even though they loved music, they were businessmen first and foremost. They couldn't accurately assess Feng Zhao's artistic value, but they were experts in assessing his commercial value. The merchants, who had a keen sense of smell, had already sensed more things from these people. These music industry celebrities with different paths might not necessarily be doing this for Feng Zhao. Some of the popular junior heavenly kings and junior heavenly queens were also very obedient here. Putting on airs? Putting on airs? There was no such thing. There were too many big shots here, and it was easy to be slapped in the face. Actress Anna, who had walked the red carpet with Feng Zhao during the film festival, also entered the concert hall with her husband, Lan Jing. Lan Jing was Imo Lang's last disciple, a famous singer in Huangzhou, and an extremely talented person. No one was surprised to see Lan Jing here. As a regular customer of Huang Art, Lan Jing was very familiar with the seating arrangements here and quickly found his seat. Beside them, there were also people who had just arrived and sat down. When he saw the person sitting beside him, Lan Jing was stunned for a moment before he smiled and greeted, "Hey, Sister Fei, what a coincidence." The person sitting beside them had already taken off her glasses. It was Fei Ying, a superstar in the Lakalinishao music scene. She was a crossover singer who could act in operas and sing in dramas. She could sing classical and rock, and she was also very talented in composing and arranging music. Her sudden appearance had caused rivers of blood to flow on the various charts in the Lakalinishao music scene. Anna hurriedly greeted her, "Sister Fei." She was also a junior in front of Fei Ying. In terms of influence in the global music industry, she could not compare. Fei Ying responded with a smile. Then she thought of something and looked at Lan Jing with disdain. "I heard your new song lost to the charts? Trash who can't even beat a virtual idol." Fei Ying said disdainfully. Lan Jing's expression was exaggerated as he shrieked, "Fuck! Do you know how good virtual idols are these days? If you're so good, you go." Fei Ying's main battlefield was in Lakalinishao. Virtual idols in Lakalinishao were not very popular these days, and their battle power in the music industry could not compare to that in Huangzhou. Therefore, Lan Jing felt that it was easy for Fei Ying to say such things. Competition in Huangzhou's music industry was fierce, and this was publicly acknowledged. Those who could fight their way to the top were all amazing people. Even virtual idols had strong teams behind them. Losing once wasn't a big deal. What was scary was losing continuously. Lan Jing had indeed encountered a creative bottleneck. He had come to Feng Zhao's concert not because of camaraderie, as others had said, but because Imo Lang had suggested it. Therefore, Lan Jing had come with a learning attitude. Regardless of whether he could break through his bottleneck, it was worth it if he could gain something. Don't be fooled by the fact that these two were at each other's throats, but the fact that they could speak in such a manner proved that they acknowledged each other's status. As for those who weren't qualified, they didn't even pay attention to them and completely ignored them. Not long after, Lan Jing bumped into a familiar face and greeted Lan Jing. "Lan Jing, are you here to listen to your junior's concert?" "Strictly speaking, Feng Zhao is not my junior. He is Professor Carter's disciple, and Carter is my senior," Lan Jing explained. "TSK, who doesn't know that Feng Zhao is learning from old Master Imo? How is he not your junior?" Now, everyone in the industry knew that Imo Lang was personally guiding Feng Zhao. During the second half of the advanced studies period, Lan Jing had been extremely guarded, afraid that Feng Zhao would be affected by other matters. The fact that old Master Imo was so protective of Feng Zhao showed how much old Master Imo cared about him. Lan Jing didn't deny it this time. He smiled bitterly. "I used to be a treasure to Master, but ever since Master had a junior, I have become a pitiful little blade of grass. Although that was what he said, Lan Jing also knew that many people were envious of him. As Imolang's disciple, he could enjoy resources and conveniences that not many people could obtain. Of course, the prerequisite was that he had the strength to back it up. If he didn't have the strength, he would have been kicked out of old Master Mo's tutelage long ago. As they were talking, a group of people walked into the hall. The originally chattering concert hall suddenly quietened down and then became restless. Although it quickly calmed down, it was only on the surface. Many pairs of eyes were staring at the few people who had walked to the front and sat down. The group that had just walked in consisted of Huang art personnel, judges, advanced studies teachers, and a few special guests. Lan Jing noticed that quite a few people around him instantly emitted wolf-like glints. There were even people who shot up from their seats, their eyes blazing. He really came. The last time I saw Teacher Yin was 10 years ago. Great Master Sangjiechi, who has been in seclusion for so long, actually came. Yin Yi and Sangjiechi. Everyone in the music industry knew these people. Yin Yi, Demu, and Sangjiechi were legendary composers and producers who had once been world-renowned. Some people said that at their peak, they dominated the pop music industry. Although this was a little exaggerated, it wasn't that far off. The style of their works could be passionate or graceful, and they had made many superstars of the music industry famous. Back then, many singers had come knocking on their doors with money and might not even be able to get one of their songs. However, these three had all had conflicts and quarrels with Huang art. Back then, some people felt that the Huang Art Academy was too biased towards the market. They were too commercial and full of utilitarianism. However, the three of them didn't feel this way. They had chosen music and persevered because of their passion. Later on, the three of them hadn't completely reconciled with Huang art. However, from their point of view, 12 Tones was 12 Tones and Huang art was Huang art. Although 12 Tones had people they hated, they also had their teachers and people who had guided them on the path of music. They might participate in 12 Tones activities, but they rarely participated in Huang art activities. Later on, Demu passed away due to an accident. Sangjiechi went into seclusion, and his whereabouts became a mystery. Yinyi was getting on in years and had limited energy. He also wanted to rest, so he only produced one song every year. Even though his current style might not be in line with the current public's taste, he was still fought over by all parties. Up until now, Yinyi, Sangjiechi, and the others had rarely participated in 12 Tones activities. However, every time there was an important activity or a graduation concert for advanced students, they would be sent invitations. Of course, there were also some composers and producers. Although they couldn't reach the heights of Yin Yi and the others, they were still considered heavyweights and had high status in the industry. Superstars like the king and queen of pop singers might have the shadows of these people behind them. Is it because of Venerable Mo? Anna asked. The only person who could make these people attend was Mo Lang. Lan Jing felt like he was about to turn into a lemon. He was very sour. I didn't even get this kind of treatment in the past. Teacher actually invited these people out for Little Junior. That's not right. From Fang Zhao's previous works, the path he took is completely different from this bunch of people. This is to promote Little Junior. It wasn't just Lan Jing. Mo Lang's disciples were also very sour when they saw this situation. Teacher was indeed biased. Great Master Mo Lang, who was being ridiculed for being biased, was currently chatting with an old friend. I have heard Fang Zhao's previous works. They have a very heavy and imposing feeling, Yinyi said. I don't study your path, but I can also feel it. For example, a heavy feeling is like reading a history book or watching a movie with an epic background. The other is like being in it and experiencing it for real. There is no feeling of looking at it from a distance. Fang Zhao belongs to the latter category. Therefore, I didn't come this time just because of you, Old Mo. I am just very interested in this kid's music. Sangjiechi also said, Fang Zhao's works have always had a very large scale. However, a large scale can easily appear empty. However, from his previous works, I can see that he has already done very well. No, I should say that he has already done very well at his age. I just don't know what kind of surprise he can give me this time. At the same time, I can also take a look at the current teaching standards of the 12 Tones Advanced course. This student of Feng Zhao's is a quick learner. The teachers of the advanced course were very confident. To be precise, they were very confident in Mo Lang. If Feng Zhao's works didn't satisfy Mo Lang wouldn't be smiling. Don't judge Mo Lang by his solemn expression. In fact, when he heard others praise Feng Zhao, the corners of his mouth had actually curled up a few times. A few people started to ask Mo Lang about the concert. As an instructor, Mo Lang knew a lot more. Professor Carter sat in the back seat and didn't say a word. At this time, it was best if he didn't say anything. Chapter 455. Sleep Early. Good night. Description of Future Heavenly King currently typing. Please wait for a moment. After the content is updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 457. The concert hadn't started yet. Even though the venue wasn't noisy, there was still a lot of noise. Greetings and gossips only whispered softly and didn't dare make a ruckus. Even the popular pop kings and queens were very reserved today. Glancing at the first few rows, one could even see the teachers that had taught them in the past. When Chubo arrived and took a look, he was thoroughly shocked. He saw many familiar faces. This bunch of people usually didn't have much interaction with Feng Zhao. Two people sitting in front of him were still bickering. What are you doing here when you're a techno singer? If you, a death metal singer, can come, why can't I? Chubo thought about his own style and looked at this bunch of people. It wouldn't be strange even if he met an opera singer. Zero arrived just before the concert started. He was still yawning when he sat down. I almost overslept. Zero scanned his surroundings with a gaze that seemed to have lost his IQ. He wasn't familiar with anything and didn't feel like talking. He might as well sleep. Just as Chubo was about to share some gossip with Zero, the lights in the venue changed, the chatter stopped, and the hall quietened down. Feng Zhao's graduation concert had officially begun. According to the rules, a graduation concert couldn't be less than 6 pieces. Mo Lang had selected 7 pieces from Feng Zhao's past year. The purpose of the graduation concert was to showcase the knowledge that advanced students had learned in the past year. How much advanced students had learned could be seen directly from their works. In the past year, there had been many new changes to Mo Lang's compositions. There were also obvious differences from his previous compositions. After considering all aspects, Mo Lang had chosen 7 songs. He hoped that everyone's impression of Feng Zhao's work would no longer be that of the Get Up from Your Numb Sleep image that was being circulated online. The large screen in front displayed the graduation concert's information. Hovering at the top was a large, formal font, Sea of Stars. There were a few instructors. The first was Mo Lang, followed by Carter. According to the procedure, Feng Zhao introduced his composing background. Zero felt drowsy listening to this. Since he couldn't understand these academic discussions, he might as well sleep. Chubo listened attentively for a while. Simply put, this sort of graduation concert was a stage for advanced students to show off their skills. His path was different from Feng Zhao's. His works were more focused on rhythm. However, he was very curious as to how much Feng Zhao had changed after studying in this God-level advanced course for a year. Had there been any new elements in his works? Feng Zhao gave a simple explanation of the background of his works on stage, not showing the slightest bit of stage fright that great-grandfather Feng had been worried about. Feng Zhao finished his speech calmly in front of the judges and seniors. The rest of the time was for him to showcase his own work. As a stage for Huang Art's top advanced students to showcase their musical works, even if the venue wasn't big, the audiovisual facilities were undoubtedly top-notch, maximizing the strengths of the advanced students' works. The opening song was Splendor. The sound of the zither was played, and the wind music echoed. The magnificent wind music was like a spring breeze sweeping across the ice and snow, welcoming the golden light that crossed the horizon and feeling the pulse of life. With a heart filled with longing and awe, he stared at the golden gate that was opening, welcoming a new world. It was a very bright and grand opening, which made people feel refreshed and forget the tiredness and irritation from before. The serious faces of the judges relaxed. They looked at each other and smiled in satisfaction. However, he was only satisfied. If this had happened to any other student, it might have been considered a high-level performance, but when it came to Feng Zhao, it could only be considered normal. Those who had studied Feng Zhao's works weren't surprised by this opening. Plus, with Imo Lang's guidance, it would be a surprise if he hadn't reached this standard. Percussion and wind music stimulated by the strings were melodious in the vast expanse. It was as if one had awakened from a daze. Looking into the distance, one could see green sprouting, new branches sprouting from broken trees. One could see majestic mountains, vast plateaus, and a bustling city skyline. Hurried sounds drifted past one's ears like a child running toward the light at dawn, encountering a bustling crowd. The world was very big, the sky high and the earth high, closing one's eyes in intoxication, hope and fantasy interweaved. It was like the sound of victory coming from afar. Some people were cheering and jumping in joy. Standing under the endless rays of light, they looked up at the sky and saw the grandeur of the future. Their hearts seemed to be lifted up by a majestic force, soaring to the horizon. The green mountains didn't hinder the white clouds, stepping on thousands of rocks and valleys to surpass their limits and pursue the glorious splendor that they believed in. Do you see the sea of stars? The opening song touched the judge from Majo the most. Every melody resonated with him. He could hear the surge of life, the spurting of hope, and the flourishing of life. Carefree, bold, exuberant vitality, surging emotions. All the cells in the body seemed to feel the joy of being supported. Unconsciously, a smile had already begun to ripple. When the song ended, the judges also started discussing in low voices. Bold, ingenious, and skillful technique. This kid's foundations aren't bad. A very strong sense of upward power, positive energy, and full of vitality. This young man's vigor isn't bad. The world is so big, flying at will. Listening to it gives me the feeling that the clouds have become resplendent in gold and jade. Gorgeous. It wasn't flashy without substance, but a kind of high-level spiritual realm. As one of the judges spoke, he gave Imo Lang a thumbs up. Imo Lang reservedly smiled faintly and nodded his head, as if saying it's not bad. The judge from Majo was also very satisfied. When he looked at the background of the composition, the smile on his face became even wider. As expected, there are elements of our Majo. Sitting in the back seat, Professor Carter's spirits rose. Feng Zhao's trip to Majo had been arranged by him, so he could answer this question. But before Carter could speak, Imo Lang said, yes, when he went to Majo with the team, he wrote the first draft of Splendor. Professor Carter swallowed back the words he wanted to say, sat up straight, and pretended that nothing had happened. After a short exchange, the judges each began to score and write their comments on the scoreboards in their hands. The time between each song was for the judges to discuss and give their scores. A graduation concert was different from an ordinary solo concert. It had the nature of an academic exchange and public evaluation. In the audience, Zero, who had fallen asleep, was woken up by the opening song. He sat there in a daze, a perplexed look on his face. Chubo had a learning attitude and was recording his thoughts. When he turned his head and saw Zero, he asked, "What's wrong?" Zero rubbed his face. "I had a dream. I dreamed that I was running, and I was flying." Chubo was delighted. Needless to say, Zero still had some artistic cells. By the time Zero had completely returned to his senses, the judges had finished grading the first song and the second song was about to begin. The Return of Life. The theme of Feng Zhao's graduation concert was The Sea of Stars. The first song was just a prologue, but the second song was really about the sea. It was composed during Feng Zhao's trip to the Coral Archipelago to participate in a film festival. In this song, Feng Zhao had added electronic sounds. The perfect combination of symphonic and electronic sounds, from dry to wet, came into contact with the splashing waves. Beside the land was the sea, a strange and lively electronic sound, like the chirping of a ring, cheerful and lively. Under the current, Gorgeous layers of colors swam freely in the sea. The rhythm of nature. Down. Lively, deep, peaceful, mysterious, shuttled back and forth. It was like countless vibrating strings of a zither were playing out a frequency that broke the silence of the deep sea. A massive body broke through the undercurrent's drag and rose, its fins breaking through the waves, leaping out of the water and churning freely. A bird swooped down from a high altitude, gliding along the surface of the sea, striking the waves and stirring the tides. Heaven and earth, nurturing all living things. All living things are endless. Sunlight scattered on the surface of the sea, setting sail. Feeling the beauty of the music, a certain documentary director in the audience sighed. It's just right. The heart follows the melody. It has a very ecological feel. If there was a chance, he would definitely put this song in his new film. He couldn't afford the copyright, but the television station could. Their Huangzhou television station had the world's largest music library. When he got back, he would suggest to the higher-ups to include Feng Zhao's new song in the music library. No, if they had the funds and could obtain the copyright, they would still include all 7 songs from today's concert in the television station's music library. Just from the first 2 songs, it was clear that Feng Zhao's graduation concert works were all high-quality works and worthy of being included in the music library. What was the saying again? If you are really that stubborn about a song, there's nothing much to say. Prepare the money and just buy it. It wasn't like they were buying out all the copyrights. There wouldn't be any problem with these 7 songs being included in the music library. He was still very confident in Huangzhou television station's purchasing power. It was just 7 songs. Everyone had their own thoughts. Feng Zhao had composed the 2nd song of the concert, The Return of Life, and the 3rd song, Lighthouse, during his time in Corral. The people of the small island of Corral had held a celebration for the lighthouse there. At that time, every year, the light from the lighthouse was especially bright. The style of this song was different from the previous 2. It even incorporated the island's unique musical instruments. Light, cheerful drum beats carried a local flavor and an ancient charm. Even the soft drum beats at the beginning sounded soft and low, but in reality, they were deep and imposing, carrying an ancient and mysterious sense of ritual. It was as if he could see the distant shore of the island, the waves crashing, the flickering of lights, the celebrating islanders, and the smell of alcohol in the sea breeze, making one's eyes hazy. Turning his head, he gazed past the dancing crowd toward the sea. Under the light of the lighthouse, the seawater washed over the reefs. The lighthouse quietly observed the sea as the returning ship sailed to the edge of the blue sea. Lighthouse was Feng Zhao's composition, which used Corral's local folk songs and folk dances as its source material. He had incorporated the local musical style into his composition. The ancients, the sea, the lighthouse, the ship, and the stars twirling in the eyes of the dancers. All of these were endowed with a strong artistic vitality in Lighthouse. In the audience, a well-known Huangzhou rapper listened to the thumping drumbeats of Lighthouse, and his eyes flashed with surprise. What kind of drum is this? It sounds pretty good. Chapter 458. Judging from the background, it was in Corral? He had been invited to Corral more than once, but most of the time, he had been there for the film festival. His mind had been on the Corral Film Festival, so how could he have paid attention to anything else? He hadn't paid any attention to the local instruments either. He had no interest in symphonic music. He hadn't come to the concert to appreciate art, but to dig for treasures. He had only listened to the first 2 songs and had been in the mood to send a message to his friends about the situation. But when the drums started playing this song, he couldn't care less. He asked the people sitting around him, but no one could tell what kind of drum it was. He flipped through his contact list, but there was no way to contact Feng Zhao, so he decided to send Lanjing a message. Feng Zhao and Lanjing were from the same school, so Lanjing would definitely know. Even if he didn't, he could ask Feng Zhao. Sure enough, Lanjing replied after a short while. It's a specialty drum from Corral Island. Lanjing had studied the type of drum from Corral Island before, so he didn't need to ask Feng Zhao to recognize it. A drum from Corral Island? The rapper noted it down. He was especially pleased with Lighthouse. He was so excited that he couldn't sit still. Taking advantage of the time the judges were giving their scores, he shared it with his friends. It's true. The combination of these musical instruments and notes with local characteristics is like a cheat code. What a pleasant surprise. Then should we find some time to buy drums from Corral? His friend asked. What I lack is a drum. What I lack is talent. Not just anyone can pull off such a cheat-level combination. At least, I can't do it on my own in the short term. Then what do we do? The other side asked. Nonsense. Of course we'll find someone who can do it. Just rearrange the original song and it'll be fine. After rearranging the lyrics, it'll definitely suit me. In his excitement, he had already come up with a variation of the melody in his head, and he hummed along to the beat. Hey, this is the taste. What do you think? He couldn't be more pleased with the part he had just changed. Sitting next to him was an actor who had been listening to the rapper's nonstop rambling, especially the edited part just now. Comparing it to Lighthouse, he almost doubted his own hearing and memory. Was everyone listening to the same song just now? The changes were a little too drastic. Wasn't the mood different? But to the rapper and his friends, this was normal. The same song might sound like mountains and rivers to some people, but to others, it was like the migration of animals. As for this rapper, in his ears, even the most serious drumbeat was steady with a hint of playfulness. To better suit himself, it was normal for him to adapt and change it greatly. I can wait until after the concert to find Feng Zhao to discuss the copyright issues of the adaptation. This well-known Huangzhou rapper had already started to make plans. Copyright isn't easy, right? I heard that Feng Zhao's last concert was sold out before it even ended. A hesitant voice came through the other end of the line. Oh, then I'll ask Lanjing again. As he spoke, he contacted Lanjing through voice chat. Since their seats were quite far apart, he could only use voice chat, and he even had to lower his voice. Lanjing, you have to help your old classmate. You and Feng Zhao are from the same school. Tell him to save the third song, Lighthouse, for me. As Lanjing dealt with him, he thought to himself, what's the use of looking for me? I'm not even close to Feng Zhao. Fortunately, the evaluation didn't take long. After Lanjing finished the call, he looked at the big screen in front of him. He was really looking forward to the next few songs, hoping that this bunch of people who normally did not interact with Feng Zhao would seek him out for help. This kid Feng Zhao is really something. The fourth song, Ada, Alcade, serial number Ada, a veteran spaceship of human space exploration, lost contact during an exploration mission. It flew on its own for a period of time before landing on planet Boo and being buried by sand and dust. It was only 400 years later that Feng Zhao and the others discovered it. Ada was about the Alcade. The electronic sound brought a strong sense of space, the vast universe, and the tiny stardust. The azure blue planet gradually moved further and further away, and the nebula glazed glass blew over. The main melody was light and cheerful. It was neither noisy nor urgent. When it entered the ears, it felt very novel. From time to time, a homophone would pop up, mischievous and casual, mysterious, with a strong sense of otherworldly charm. The melody was unique and varied. His mind couldn't keep up with it. However, if one listened carefully, one would be able to hear a trace of sadness in the voice. It was very shallow and could be easily overlooked if one did not pay attention. The audience didn't have time to ponder over the meaning behind this song. At this moment, they only felt that it was novel, a peculiar musical style and mystical tune. It's nice to listen to, but I'm not used to it. There seems to be a kind of quiet loneliness, as if one is immersed in one's own world, yet there's no sadness. It's really strange. This distorted tone makes my whole body go limp, an intense illusory feeling. When I close my eyes, I feel like I have already crossed over to another world. Goosebumps all over my body. This is the first time I've heard this. Actually, it's not bad. At this moment, Chu Bo was completely excited to see a new sound. Wonderful. This curved tone and delay is too slippery. Why didn't I know that Feng Zhao had such a style? Besides Chu Bo and the others, there was another special listener in the concert hall. Little Bear was listening very seriously. As a superintelligence and the pilot of the Alcade, he had always been thinking about what kind of music would be able to match up to his true liking. Don't be fooled by how noisy he was normally. He still had the arrogance of a superintelligence. At this moment, Little Bear was crying. His tears were like a fountain. As he cried, he hugged a bottle of water and drank 2 mouthfuls of water from time to time. As he drank, he would cry and burp. He also didn't know what kind of emotions he was currently experiencing. He felt a little sad as he recalled the 400 years he had spent on the Alcade. He suddenly recalled a conversation he had with his creator, Interplanetary Fund founder Master Hong Xian, a long time ago. Shouldn't machines have their own thoughts? Is our existence correct? Little Bear asked. Master Hong Xian didn't reply. Being a superintelligence is really tough. Why do I feel that it's tough? Little Bear grumbled. It's normal because you already have a soul, Master Hong Xian said. There were some questions that even a superintelligence couldn't think of an answer to. But now, Little Bear had the urge to cry because of a song. His tears flowed nonstop. He had already finished a bottle of water, yet he still showed no signs of stopping. Another bottle of water was passed over. Little Bear took it and continued to drink as he continued to cry. If it wasn't for the fact that this wasn't the right occasion, he would have bawled out loud. Is this an emotional outburst? You superintelligences can even understand such things? Someone at the side asked. Little Bear sobbed. Superintelligences also have a sense of art. This song, Ada, was slightly longer than the previous 3 songs. When it was 2/3 of the way through, the teacher judge looked at the song's information and then at the length of the song. He shook his head slightly, feeling regretful. What a pity. If it had ended at this point, it would definitely have been a high score. If it was too long, it would have seemed redundant and dragged down the overall quality of the song. This was a mistake that young people often made. But forget about Feng Zhao. Why hadn't Mo Lang noticed this problem? A few of the judges glanced at Mo Lang, but couldn't see anything from his expression. One of the judges retracted his gaze and looked at the scoreboard. On one of the columns, the tip of his pen, which had originally landed on an A, moved down a line to B+. Just as he was about to grade it, he suddenly stopped. That's not right. It was as if a layer of chill had swept across his skin. His entire body quivered. Unknowingly, the song's momentum had changed. If the first 2/3 of Ada was like roaming the vast and empty solitude of the stars in the universe, then the last section was like revealing a gaze from above. Revealing the mysterious community hidden behind the billions of stars, waiting in silence. Ice-cold emotions. Watching coldly from the sidelines, the stars changed, and the seas turned into mulberry fields. The strange electronic sound carried a sharp coldness when it entered the ears. It wasn't a strong mechanical feeling, but it was like an extremely cold electric current that made the hair on one's body stand on end. This feeling was as if a monster had suddenly been released in front of one's eyes. A monster that came from another world. It was too shocking. This judge even wanted to raise his hand to wipe the sweat that had appeared on his forehead. Even when the music stopped, many of the judges were still in a daze. He liked classical music, but after listening to Ada, he felt like he had had a nightmare. He couldn't even remember what he had dreamed of. He even felt that there were repercussions, and that he wouldn't want to listen to electronic music for a long time. Especially this song. As long as he had a choice, he wouldn't listen to it a second time. Absolutely not. That's why electronic music was the scariest. Wiping the cold sweat off his forehead, he wanted to go back and listen to gorgeous and beautiful classical music to calm himself down. During judging time, the judges wavered. But when they looked at Ada, their gazes were a little more amazed and complicated. Did they like it? They didn't like it. But if they had to say it was bad, they couldn't say it was bad. They just didn't like the chilling feeling that came with this song, but they hadn't lost the ability to evaluate a work. Mo Lang also sighed silently. He had told Feng Zhao long ago that if only the first 2/3 of Ada remained, it wouldn't be difficult to get an A grade. But if the latter half was kept, it would be hard to say. That was beyond the scope of many people's understanding. It was too advanced. It wasn't that it wasn't good enough, it was just that it wasn't understood. Somewhere in the audience seats, Little Bear's unstoppable tears had already completely disappeared. His eyes that seemed no different from an ordinary person's flashed with an almost undetectable blue light, adding a sense of coldness to it.
废话.
Little Bear looked at the person beside him. If you call me wrong again, I'll send you back for a remodeling. The person beside him had an indifferent expression. Little Bear paused and continued asking, have we been exposed? You were the one who was exposed. We were exposed long ago. Does Feng Zhao want to tell this secret to others? Actually, not really. They can't understand the message Feng Zhao hid in Ada, and Feng Zhao didn't express it clearly. He also didn't want to expose you. If he really wanted to expose you, he wouldn't have waited until now. Just in case, should we harmonize this Ada? No, just buy it out. Oh right, there's also the whole copyright buyout. I'll buy it. I'll buy it and listen to it myself. I won't let anyone else listen to it. Boss, you didn't ban my salary, right? I didn't ban it. Good thing I have money. No, you didn't. Gooden and Gosheng. Little Bear remembered the moment he heard these two names. He had used the money in his salary card to make 2 intelligent mechanical docks. It was like a thunderclap. I actually used the money from buying the copyright to make those 2 smart assistants. Little Bear, who had suffered a huge blow, fell silent. After a while, his ears twitched. Little Bear said angrily, I heard an old man in the front row say that there's a monster hidden in Ada. He actually said I'm a monster. So? Should I tell them that there's actually an even more terrifying monster by Feng Zhao's side? Without waiting for the person beside him to reply, Little Bear shook his head and muttered to himself, forget it. I'm afraid I'll be eaten. Chapter 459. The concert's 4th song, Ada, made quite a few people shiver. The judge's grading time was clearly longer than the previous songs. Great-grandfather Fong was a little worried. He didn't understand music and couldn't tell anything. He just felt a little weird and felt a chill down his spine. However, this was secondary. Great-grandfather Fong was worried that the judge's grading of Feng Zhao wasn't ideal. The judge's grading would only be announced at the end of the concert. Right now, there was no way to know the details of each song's score. It was said that each song had several sections that needed to be graded. The surrounding audience members didn't seem optimistic either. Great-grandfather Fong was even more worried when he heard an older member of the audience say that the copyright for Ada wasn't easy to sell. He was afraid that Feng Zhao would feel pressured. After all, the first 3 songs had received relatively high ratings. After a while, the grading for the 4th song ended and the 5th song began. The 5th song, Star Sand, had been composed while Feng Zhao was on Planet Boo compared to the first 4 songs. This song was much more relaxing. The crisp sound of the triangle was distant and tranquil, like the fluorescence of sand dancing in the night sky. The combination of the starry instrumental music made it seem like the stars in the universe were whispering. It was like lying on the clouds and looking at the resplendent, vast, distant, and flawless night sky. Galaxies filled the eyes. The hot sandstorm calmed down. The clear and gentle starlight. Life was disappearing in a puff of smoke or slowly drying up and disappearing. Life was quietly appearing, struggling to escape from despair. The distant stars, the tranquil night, the spacious yet pulsating vitality. A speck of dust drifted quietly into the endless starry sky. The flying sandstorm gradually approached the approaching day. In the audience, Fei Ying, the queen of the music industry and crossover singer with the trademark arrogance of a Lajou native, stood there quietly. Faced with this wonderful music that seemed to come from beyond the heavens, she simply had no way of resisting. She couldn't help but want to sing along right now. It took a lot of effort to resist. She clenched her fists tightly, not knowing how to express the surging emotions in her heart. Heavenly sounds. She closed her eyes and listened. Even her soul felt like it was floating. When the song ended, Fei Ying let out a long sigh. Star Sand. This melody seems destined to be found by me. Unknowingly, tears trickle down my face. If paired with a beautiful voice, it will make people melt. As Fang spoke, she elegantly raised her hand and wiped the corners of her eyes with a custom-made handkerchief. But what was hidden behind the handkerchief? It was a look of determination. However, a certain popular Huangzhou pop singer sitting on the other side of Fei Ying had an equally bright look in his eyes. "Sister Fei, don't fight with me for this, okay?" The singer pointed to his throat. "Do you see this? My throat is vibrating with it. It wants to sing." Lan Jing, who heard their conversation. It was a pity that these singers did not go into acting. Popular pop singer. "I think this song, Star Sand, will be very suitable for my upcoming new album after being adapted." Fei Ying smiled proudly. "No, it should be accompanied by a holy chant." As they spoke, they turned to look at Lan Jing simultaneously. "Lan Jing, why are you looking at me? Go talk to Fang Zhao about copyright." I really don't know Fang Zhao that well. However, Lan Jing still made up his mind that he would interact more with Fang Zhao in the future and deepen their relationship as fellow disciples. This junior brother was too powerful. It was no wonder that teacher Mo Lang would lower himself to snatch him away from his disciple. At the same time, Zero was exchanging thoughts with Chu Bo on the other side of the auditorium. "Chu Bo, when I listen to it, it feels like a strange thing has entered my ears and is constantly shuttling back and forth between my eardrums. Could this be the legendary brainwashing? New skill gets square root." Zero was puzzled. Is this song really written about Planet Boo's desert? Is Planet Boo's desert really that beautiful? I have also been to Planet Boo. Why is it that what I see is different from the desert in Fang Zhao's music? It's more artistic. It's just like some places written in our textbooks. The words described are so beautiful that I even skipped class to read them. In the end, I discovered that I was cheated. It's simply a textbook level of deception. Chu Bo said, "Is that so?" Zero's doubts continued until the sixth song, Boo, Boo. Just from the name, one could tell where it was referring to. This song had also been composed by Fang Zhao during his time on Planet Boo. However, its style was completely different from the previous song, Star Sand. The sound of the zither was like sand. At the start, there were very few instruments that responded to it. Then, there was a flourishing scene where various instruments were added one after the other. It was just like Planet Boo's development. From a land of endless yellow sand, it had transformed into a steel behemoth. It was as if one could see a huge wave of endless yellow sand as tens of thousands of alloy armors steadily pushed forward. It was as if one could see silhouettes rising from desolation. Their nerves were stirred, and their hearts were surging with emotions. The younger listeners immediately perked up. It had appeared. Fang Zhao's signature style of "wake up and get high." What was a feeling of power? What was a hardcore bombardment? Even the pauses were filled with an invincible grandeur. Professional listeners were also brought out of their melancholy. "The arrangement technique is very impressive," an evaluator said. "The combination of classical symphonic music and metal, together with the electronic timbre that seems to come from the universe, creates an explosive infection that creates a different kind of charm." Another evaluator also revealed a faint smile. "It's just like a crude tough guy making a grand entrance through artistic processing. It is indeed rather charming. Planet Boo, we should go take a look when we have the chance." Quite a few people had the same thoughts, especially those who had the opportunity to visit Planet Boo but had been unable to do so due to various reasons. Planet Boo. It was a pity that it was no longer open to the public. A new military experimental base had already been constructed, and armed forces were fully deployed. Planet Boo's new journey had begun. It was no longer that small and impoverished place. Even though they couldn't see it for themselves, there was an indescribable sense of pride and excitement that filled their eyes. However, when Planet Boo was mentioned, many people recalled the tens of billions that Fang Zhao had donated. Their expressions were subtle. The discovery of the Alcade had resulted in a reward of 100 billion from the Interplanetary Fund. Fang Zhao had donated the tens of billions that he could get his hands on to Planet Boo's construction. Fang Zhao had indeed played a very important role in Planet Bu's rise from desolation to become a new military experimental base. Otherwise, Planet Bu might not have been chosen as the third strategic military location. At that time, the higher-ups hadn't made a decision and were still deciding between Planet Bu and the other two planets. Planet Bu had only been decided upon after the Alcade incident. From this, it seemed that Fang Zhao's feelings for Planet Bu were rather deep. 3 of the first 6 songs in this graduation concert were related to Planet Bu. Or perhaps there was some unspeakable secret between Fang Zhao and Bu Base. Zero wasn't thinking about these things. Right now, his heart was filled with doubts. Was Planet Bu really as impressive as it sounded? What he had seen and experienced when he had first arrived on Planet Bu had left a deep impression on him. Even though the new military research base had been established on Planet Bu, his impression of Planet Bu was still that poor little rundown planet with nothing but deserts and oceans. Had Planet Bu already become so awesome in a moment of carelessness? As everyone was pondering, the final song of the graduation concert started. The 7th song, Limitless. Some of the judges had speculated based on the first few songs and thought that Fang Zhao would emphasize the organ to depict the universe. They hadn't expected that Fang Zhao would superimpose the string music to match the time, switching between fast and slow, movement and stillness, igniting different emotions and accumulating them to the extreme in an instant. It was rather meaningful. Their thoughts were carried to the depths of the distant universe where the stars shined brilliantly. Time was very mystical and also very cruel. The universe was something that people yearned for and also revered. Compared to outer space, the vast oceans seemed rather cramped. Humans, from their emergence to their rise on this blue planet, hadn't set off any waves in the universe. A human's life was too short. Those fleeting splendors, warm, scorching, auspicious, and conquests, were just a tiny speck in the afterimages of time. In the past, people who dreamed of the sea of stars exhausted their entire lives and only walked from the starting point of the universe to the starting point. It was as if they were destined to be lonely. However, humans could walk even further. In the future, even more people would head for the sea of stars, stand on the shoulders of those who came before them, and then become the shoulders of those who came after them. The queue was very long. Time etched all things in the universe, from the most shocking destruction to the most wonderful birth. Time would also witness a future with limitless possibilities together with humans. Fang Zhao gazed ahead as if he was looking at a distant scene through a point in the void. The corners of his mouth curled into a faint smile. 500 years ago, he had led a team to search for a way to survive under the distorted atmosphere. 500 years later, he stood in the tranquil desert of Planet Bu and watched the resplendent river of stars traverse the night sky. I came from the past and was extremely fortunate to encounter the future that I hoped for. Chapter 460. Music was born to convey emotions and thoughts. Through music, even if one couldn't completely guess what the composer was trying to express, one could more or less understand it. The audience present had no way of knowing what Fang Zhao was thinking, but they seemed to understand why Fang Zhao would donate the tens of billions of dollars he had received for discovering the Alcade. However, understanding was one thing. Not everyone could do what Fang Zhao had done. Some of the people seated in the audience hadn't come for Fang Zhao. They had personally seen what kind of person had been admitted to the God-level Huangart's 12 Tones advanced course. That kind of unconcealable brilliance wasn't something that fake marketing could compare to. The graduation concert entered the judges' grading period. This time, the waiting time was slightly longer. The judges had to give an overall grade based on the 7 pieces, which would be the final score of Fang Zhao's graduation concert. This would affect his overall grade. Lan Jing heard people in the back row discussing. No wonder it was composed by someone who won a Galaxy Supernova Award. I think I saw a little kid cry listening to it. Actually, I almost cried too. When I listened to it, I suddenly felt an indescribable emotion. It felt like the music was talking about me. When people are pretentious, everything they listen to sounds like they are talking about themselves, another person said. That's not pretentious. That's a story. Lan Jing heard an electronic music producer in the front row say, "Let's not talk about anything else and just talk about electronic music. Just look at him. He can produce a nimble and graceful piece that is full of energy. He can also take a high-level and unfathomable style. He can control it with ease and is mysterious and unfathomable. I can't help but admire him. Luckily, Feng Zhao's path is different from ours. He's not here to steal our jobs." The surrounding people had high evaluations of Feng Zhao's graduation concert. As for the judges, Lan Jing had a good idea. An A+ was in the bag. Just as Lan Jing had predicted, the judging panel gave an A+ final score. Feng Zhao's ability to learn is too strong. You can see it from his graduation concert piece. He has the elegance of classical music and the freedom of contemporary music. He might not be at the pinnacle, but he is truly brimming with talent. The graduation work this time has a variety of melodies, rich levels, grand scenes, and a distant artistic conception. It also doesn't lack storytelling and scene transitions. Every note seems to carry a kind of emotion. There are a few parts that don't use heavy drum beats, but they can still make people's blood boil. It's truly majestic. Even if the music isn't passionate, it's still brewing power. It's a work from a Yinzhou native, yet I can hear so many local characteristics of other continents. It's not easy. Suddenly, an evaluator said, "Actually, these 7 songs by Feng Zhao could totally be used as a test question for this year's freshman entrance exam." The proposal was unanimously approved by the other judges. Huang Art welcomed the new students with 2 sentences. The first sentence, "Welcome new students." The second sentence, "Let's take a test." Huang Art was good at pouring cold water on freshmen. For the freshmen who had just entered the school, they would first display the works of their outstanding alumni, letting the freshmen see the capabilities of their outstanding alumni. Then, they would tell them, "Don't think that you're awesome just because you got into the school. Don't get cocky. Look at your seniors. Don't you feel embarrassed wasting your time in the university?" In the past, Huang Art rarely used works from the 12 Tones Advanced course to set questions. Advanced students were generally on the older side, so it wasn't easy to use them in the freshman entrance exam. But this year was different. Feng Zhao wasn't much older than the new students. After deciding to use Feng Zhao's graduation works as a test question, the evaluation panel flashed a devil's smile that only Huang Art's older students could understand. Thus, this year, Feng Zhao single-handedly dealt a blow to the entire batch of Huang Art's freshmen. This ladle of cold water from Huang Art's welcoming ceremony was really heart-wrenching. Of course, that was a story for another time. After the final scores were announced, the graduation concert also ended. Feng Zhao could already be considered to have successfully graduated. All that was left was a ceremony. However, that would have to wait for the other students in the advanced course to complete their graduation scores before they could hold a graduation ceremony and collect their graduation certificates. When Feng Zhao thanked the evaluation panel, the old professors of the evaluation panel all had gratified expressions. An old professor patted Feng Zhao on the shoulder. Very good, very good. Continue to maintain your passion for music and learn even more techniques. Oh, right, there will be an important performance in the near future. Who knows, you might be invited." Feng Zhao thanked them and took note of these words. Important performance? How important was it? If it was so important that it couldn't be clearly stated, then it would definitely be a special place and a high-level performance. The audience also left one after another. Great Master Yin Yi, one of the legendary composers who had been invited, was extremely experienced and successfully avoided the encirclement of the stars. However, there was still someone following beside Yin Yi. It was an extremely popular veteran singer in Huangzhou who had collaborated with Yin Yi many times. In the car leaving Huang Art, Yin Yi raised his head and glanced at the person sitting beside him. "What's the matter? You don't have any thoughts on the 7 songs today?" The singer laughed. "Yes, I do. I want to adapt 2 of them, but the competitors are too strong. I don't know if I can win." If it had been the Feng Zhao of the past, those works would indeed have been very good, but there weren't many that were suitable for singing. Lyrical music was fine, but epic music wasn't something he could handle. But after Fang Zhao's advanced course, he had achieved mastery through comprehensive studies. Taking this graduation concert as an example, those 7 songs contained even more elements. There were already quite a few peers who had their eyes on them. Of course, he also had his own thoughts. Yin Yi snorted. If you want to buy adaptation rights, you have to go through the proper channels. Don't bully others. Because of his experiences when he was young, this old man especially hated those who used their power to oppress others and maliciously undercut prices. He had been invited this time because he was very interested in this young man, Fang Zhao. He saw Fang Zhao as a talented junior that was hard to come by. One flower blooming alone was not spring. 100 flowers blooming together filled the garden with spring. Artificial intelligence had replaced many things, but literature, art, and other spiritual cultures were hard to replace. Only by constantly injecting new blood could this circle forever be full of vitality. Little seedlings had to be protected. Therefore, if someone wanted to adapt Fang Zhao songs but use some unscrupulous means, this old man would flip out. Under Yin Ye's stern gaze, this veteran singer from Huangzhou wanted to cry but had no tears. You worry too much. Can I bully Fang Zhao? Do you have any misunderstandings about the name Fang Zhao? In the music industry, he had decades of experience, global fans, appeal, and connections. He indeed belonged to the category of power and influence, but this was only temporary. There was no need to doubt Fang Zhao's talent. In the future, who knew when he would have to beg Fang Zhao for help? He had experienced the predicament of a singer not having a good song. Furthermore, at his level, he had higher standards for his work. And looking at the entire music industry, Fang Zhao's influence might not be any lower than his. Furthermore, Fang Zhao's crossover influence was formidable. Just the battle prowess of his gaming fans was enough to make people fearful. And this was only within the entertainment circles. There was no need to even mention those outside the circles. Putting aside his friendship with the military, Fang Zhao still had military merits on him and could legally carry a gun. Who would be so bored as to provoke Fang Zhao? Just as he had said, people who wanted to buy adaptation rights really didn't dare play any tricks because of Fang Zhao himself and the academic bigwigs backing him up. Just look at great master Immerse. The concert had already ended, but he was still pulling Fang Zhao over for a chat. After the concert ended, Immerse didn't leave immediately. Instead, he stayed behind to give Fang Zhao a few more reminders. Don't need to write a thesis after graduation? Naive. In the academic world, a thesis was very important. Just relying on words or holding a few concerts wouldn't gain the recognition of the global academic community. Immerse, I'm watching you. Don't even think of goofing off. After a while, Immerse let Fang Zhao out. Immerse had an assistant accompanying him. After Fang Zhao sent Immerse off, he headed over to great-grandfather Fang and the others who were waiting outside. When great-grandfather Fang came out, he carefully scanned his surroundings. He heaved a sigh of relief when he didn't see that frightening figure from his memories. When he saw Fang Zhao, he smiled so happily that his eyes were about to disappear. Great-grandfather Fang had decided to stay in Huangzhou for a few more days until Fang Zhao officially graduated. He still wanted to take photos with Fang Zhao. How could he miss such an important moment? As for the time before the graduation ceremony, great-grandfather Fang didn't stay at Fang Zhao's place. He called great-grandmother Fang over. Let's go. Let's find old comrades to chat about retirement. Chapter 461. Fang Zhao arranged for Zui Yu and Yin Biao to send the 2 elders off. There were too many reporters outside the concert venue, and Huang Art had screened them before letting them in. There were bound to be even more entertainment reporters outside. Even if these reporters weren't here for Fang Zhao, they were here for the people attending the concert. The topic of Fang Zhao's concert was trending, and it was the headline of today's news feed. With so many big-name celebrities present, people who didn't know better would think they were attending a music festival. How could the media let go of such a rare opportunity to fish for traffic? Great-grandfather Fang and great-grandmother Fang were getting on in years, and those entertainment reporters were crazy for news. With Yin Biao and Zui Yu escorting them, Feng Zhao could rest assured. As they boarded the car, great-grandfather Feng told Feng Zhao, "Don't worry. Even if we encounter those shameless entertainment reporters, I'll give them a good whack with my walking stick. This time, I brought a new type of tactical self-defense walking stick." Feng Zhao. How impressive. Great-grandfather Feng left in the car, perfectly satisfied. The graduation concert ended smoothly. Feng Zhao didn't have much time left at Huangart. All that was left was to handle some paperwork, research papers, and academic reports. Other than that, he still had to deal with those who came knocking on his door to discuss copyrights. On the way from the concert venue to the advanced student dormitory, Feng Zhao received close to 10 calls. At the same time, Yinzhou's Silver Wing Media, which had received first-hand news of the concert, was ecstatic. After all, Feng Zhao was someone who had graduated from Silver Wing. Receiving the academic community's recognition and high evaluation was a source of pride for Silver Wing. And the positive evaluation Feng Zhao brought to the company was also beneficial to Silver Wing's artists. Furthermore, they didn't care about copyrights in games, but when it came to music, Feng Zhao had signed a contract with them. Silver Wing had a say. 7 songs. These were all given A+ marks by Huangart's evaluation team. A portion of the copyrights would be kept internally, and the rest would be sold at a high price. To whom and how to sell them? These were the problems Silver Wing had to resolve. Unlike Feng Zhao's previous concert, which had been broadcast live to the public, this graduation concert was different. Not many people attended, so there was still time. When the final evaluation came out, Silver Wing's chairman, Duan Xianji, got her secretary to convene an urgent online meeting to discuss the copyrights of Feng Zhao's 7 songs and how to maximize profits. Due to the time difference, it was still morning in Yinzhou, and many people were still asleep. After receiving the notice, the executives in charge of copyrights and marketing didn't even have time to tidy up. They hurriedly washed their faces and went online for a meeting. They had already discussed the matter of Feng Zhao's concert and had made preparations. Now, all they had to do was make a final decision based on the evaluation of the concert and proceed with the follow-up work. Everyone had arrived, and the online conference was about to begin when Duan Xianji's communicator rang. She had no choice but to interrupt the conference to answer the call. When she went online again, Xianji's expression was a little complicated, but she quickly composed herself. "The reason I gathered everyone here is to discuss the marketing of Feng Zhao's graduation concert. Just a while ago, the Interplanetary Fund contacted me. They have decided to buy out Ada outright, and their offer is very reasonable. Therefore, we can only discuss the remaining 6 songs." Regarding this news, all the executives were very surprised. They didn't expect that the song that they thought was the most difficult to handle would be the first to be sold, and it was directly bought out. The remaining 6 songs, Duan Xianji's communicator rang again, just as one of the marketing executives started speaking. If it wasn't an important call, it wouldn't ring in the middle of the conference. Unimportant calls were all muted, and those that rang weren't easy to reject. Therefore, those who were interrupted didn't grumble. They only exchanged glances with others and guessed who had contacted Director Duan. Duan Xianji's gaze flickered when she saw the number displayed on her communicator. She really couldn't reject this call. Thus, Duan Xianji went offline again to answer the call. About 5 minutes later, she went online and said to everyone, "Bu Base has decided to buy out Bu outright. In addition, they are also interested in Limitless." Everyone online went silent. Bu is indeed a good match for Bu Base. It isn't strange that Bu Base has acted so swiftly. As for Limitless, let's just hold on to it and wait. Duan Xianji nodded. That's what I thought too. Then, let's talk about the remaining 5 songs. Beep, beep, beep. The urgent beeping of the communicator interrupted the conference. All the executives under the holographic projection looked at Duan Xianji in unison. Duan Xianji looked at the number displayed on her communicator and remained silent for a few seconds before saying, "I will leave for a while more." This time, Duan Xianji left for a slightly longer period of time. She only came online again after close to 10 minutes. Planet Baiji Military District wants to buy out Limitless outright. The offer is very high. Very high. Everyone's minds were speedily calculating the pros and cons. If the offer is very high, it isn't unacceptable. Boo has been bought out by Planet Boo. Actually, the full copyright of Limitless can be sold to Planet Baiji, someone said. The others also nodded in agreement. Boo and Limitless weren't in their scope. This arrangement wouldn't offend either side. All right, the conference had only been going on for slightly over 10 minutes, and out of the 7 songs, 3 had already been sold. Furthermore, they were all songs that had been bought out but weren't willing to share. Luckily, these 3 songs weren't in their core plans. However, a senior executive couldn't help but say, "Director Duan, 3 songs are enough. The remaining songs can't be sold in full. At the very least, we can't sell them all now. Hold on to them for now. The copyrights can be carefully distributed. Licensing and cooperation can also be discussed slowly. However, we can't sell them all in one go. Especially those that are suitable for adaptation, we definitely have to keep them, right? This year's situation isn't good. The company plans to promote a few talented singers. It just so happens that Fang Zhao's works this year have suitable ones. We can't let go of such high-quality resources. A few more calls and it would all be gone." Guangzhou Television Station. As the television station with the world's largest original music library, Guangzhou Television Station spent large amounts of capital on copyrights every year. Rich. Domineering. The person in charge of purchasing music had also set his sights on Fang Zhao's graduation concert. Recently, Fang Zhao's concert had frequently appeared on trending searches and headlines. Today's news had exploded, so it was hard not to notice. It just so happened that a documentary director from the station had attended the concert and strongly recommended the station to buy all 7 songs from Fang Zhao's concert. They didn't need to buy exclusivity. All they had to do was obtain the authorization. All in all, it actually wouldn't cost much. After making a budget, this amount of money was still acceptable for Guangzhou Television Station. The person in charge viewed this purchase with great importance and specially called someone over to inquire about the progress. "How are the negotiations for the 7 songs from Fang Zhao's graduation concert going?" "Splendor and Return of Life have been obtained," the person in charge said. "What about Lighthouse?" The person in charge asked. "Still negotiating. It's a little difficult." The person in charge said unhappily, "If there are difficulties, then solve them. Is it so difficult to negotiate for copyrights?" The person in charge frowned as he looked at the purchase plan in his hands. "What about Ada? I heard that this song is a little special and even Huang Art's evaluation team was stumped. We can't get that." Silver Wing said that Ada has already been bought out by the Interplanetary Fund. Exclusivity. The person in charge was put in a difficult position. The person in charge knocked on the table expressionlessly. "The Interplanetary Fund moves really quickly. All right, I can't afford to offend them. What about Boo?" The person in charge continued asking. We can't get that either." Silver Wing said that Boo Base has decided on a buyout and exclusivity. No authorization or sharing. "Are you sure it's a direct buyout? Why would Boo Base buy this out?" A new round of talent competition has started among the various bases. Boo Base wants to use it for publicity. But from what I see, besides taking a fancy to Boo Base is probably doing this to return a favor. Back then, Fang Zhao directly donated tens of billions to support Boo Base. That's right. Boo Base has successfully made a comeback and has confidence. The person in charge shut his eyes. "All right, I can't afford to offend them either." "What about Limitless?" Huang Art's evaluation team gave it a very high evaluation. "We have to get it," the person in charge said. "This can't get it either." The person in charge stammered. Silver Wing said that Baiji Military District intends to buy it out. With a snap, the person in charge broke the pen in his hand. His breathing became a little uneven. Why would Baiji want to buy it out? They said that Baiji is placing a lot of emphasis on spiritual and cultural development. From what I understand, it is now graduation season. High school graduates, master's degree graduates, as well as elite talents who are interested in job hopping are all their targets. When it comes to fighting for talent, these bases really don't give in. Planet Baiji seems to have really spent a lot of effort on publicity. This time, they have taken a fancy to Limitless. The publicity video will also be released in the near future. It will also be an exclusive purchase. No sharing, no authorization. Their attitude is firm. We really can't negotiate. The person in charge took a deep breath. Is there a need for a buyout for publicity? That bunch of nouveau riches on Planet Baiji. So what if they have a mind? Is it so difficult to buy the copyright? What's wrong with this bunch of people? Buying them out at the drop of a hat. Chapter 462. 2 days later, Silverwings Duan Qianji personally contacted Feng Zhao to discuss the copyright sale. The sale of the copyrights required Feng Zhao's approval. The three leaders of the buyout, the Interplanetary Fund, Bu Base, and Baiji Military District had already contacted Feng Zhao and obtained his approval. After the buyout contract was signed, the Interplanetary Fund fell into a rare silence. After that, nobody heard about Ada again. Silverwings people couldn't understand why the Interplanetary Fund had spent so much money to buy Ada. Compared to the Interplanetary Fund's silence, Bu Base and Baiji Military District had moved quickly. A new round of publicity was released to all the continents. Planet Bu, this rough and unyielding man, was about to make a dazzling entrance as he rubbed his palms together and prepared to snatch talents. Planet Bu had successfully lifted itself out of poverty. This time, it had a completely new appearance in front of everyone. Even though many things couldn't be made public as a key military experimental base, just the limited images displayed were enough to make many military junkies itch. Planet Baiji didn't show any weakness either. The competition between military districts of the same grade was already intense, and now, Bu Base had appeared to steal the limelight. In order to snatch talents, they had also expended a lot of effort in the publicity this time. At practically the same time that Bu Base released its publicity, Planet Baiji's conscription publicity and talent recruitment videos were released on a large scale. So what if you have a mind? You still need people. One of Planet Baiji's strategies, for highly skilled professionals, Baiji would provide great support in terms of salary, housing, medical care, spouse placement, children's schooling, and so on. A living allowance would start at $1 million. Planet Baiji's second strategy, snatching talents, starting from the kids. Our Planet Baiji not only needs talented people who have graduated, but also those who have not. Regardless of whether you are a university student or a primary or secondary school student, as long as you have a heart that yearns for the stars, as long as you pass the examination, we will help you with the transfer procedures. Those who yearn for the stars will not be lonely. Only those who stay where they are will be lonely. Welcome to Planet Baiji's construction team and join us in creating prosperity. On the City Air Rail train, a middle school student was using a terminal to chat with a classmate. The scrolling advertisements on the screen inside the train became the background sound of the passengers chatting. Suddenly, a strong rhythm sounded, and he felt as if his soul was being shaken out of his body. At that moment, the consciousness of the student who was chatting with his classmate seemed to break free from his control and search for the source of the voice. He didn't even bother to chat or pay attention to what was being broadcasted on the train. The student ran to the screen and opened the automatic music recognition program on his personal terminal. Then, her tears almost flowed out when she saw the bolder and larger military label. At the very least, the original song could be found in non-commercial songs, but military songs belonged to a special category, the kind that couldn't be found anywhere else. The pain wasn't that he had to spend extra money, but that he couldn't listen to it even if he spent money. The original song could not be found on any major music platforms. Even Huangzhou television station, which had the world's largest music library, couldn't find it. Otherwise, he could only think of another way. He could either save the promotional video or extract the audio. However, the extracted version would never be as good as the officially released single. People who had high expectations in this area might not be able to bear it. Although he was complaining in his heart, the student quickly searched for the promotional video on the internet and shared it in the class group. The music I just heard on the train. Link. The students who were online excitedly opened it to take a look. It was a recruitment advertisement. After a string of, "The group became active again, fuck," Planet Boo's new promotional video is so cool. How domineering. As expected of the third most important military base. BGM please. Another grain of spiritual sustenance. Don't even think about it. This sort of BGM is exclusive and cannot be found on other music platforms, let alone military ones. For the sake of listening to that BGM, I have watched this promotional video more than 10 times. But Planet Boo is indeed awesome. I want to go. I wonder if there is a weight limit for pilots? What does Planet Boo's recruitment advertisement count for? I just finished watching Planet Baiji's promotional video. I suddenly feel a sense of mission. The time to realize the value of my life has arrived. Everyone, let's meet up on Planet Baiji. From the video, Planet Baiji has already built a new school. The place is big enough and has greenery. I want to go. I just want to ask, does Planet Baiji have internet now? Is there a limit to the amount of time spent on the internet? Will the dormitories be switched off in the middle of the night? The form teacher who had been peeking at the screen couldn't help but pop up. Students, calm down. First, open up the results report and see if you passed the exam. Did your grades improve? Is Danku outstanding enough? If not, are you prepared to go to an alien planet to dig for ores and eat dirt? Many places had similar discussions, and the various online forums were extremely lively. In a short period of time, topics related to military recruitment and talent recruitment soared. Chapter 463. After carefully inspecting the house and confirming that there weren't any major problems, it was basically decided. Nanfeng would discuss the rest with the real estate agent and the original owner. Curly Hair was in a good mood today and had gone out to play to his heart's content. After swimming one round in the sea and being called ashore by Fang Zhao, he even dug in the sand for a while. When he left, his dog eyes stared out the window, full of reluctance. Nanfeng chuckled. Curly Hair, don't worry. You will be able to move in the next time you come. Then, you can play as long as you want. You can swim in the sea every day, and there will be little fishes and prawns to play with. Curly Hair was elated. He sprawled in the car and started to fantasize about his future blissful life. What impression did Curly Hair have of the ocean? The impression of a free seafood buffet. Its cheerful mood lasted until it returned to the dormitory for advanced students. After Nanfeng and the other two left, Fang Zhao closed the dormitory door. Curly Hair, come over. Curly Hair wagged his tail and went over. Did you have fun today? Fang Zhao asked. Woof. Is it fun over there? Fang Zhao asked. Curly Hair jumped up and barked again as he wagged his tail vigorously. Speak. Fun. Curly Hair exclaimed. It was now proficient in switching languages, and its pronunciation was standard and fluent. MMHM, Fang Zhao nodded and switched on the learning console. Curly Hair. His ears twitched, and he retracted his paws. He took a step back in what he thought was a covert move. Fang Zhao ignored its cowering. He turned on the learning console and showed it a newly created folder. Inside the folder was the ebook he had just purchased. Marine Environment Protection Act Environmental Protection Knowledge Series for Young People List of Protected Marine Wild Animals Marine Environment Management 100 Things About the Ocean People Must Know in the New Era. The Sea, My Home. They were all books related to the sea, and there were a total of 20 books. Not only were there ebooks, but there were also 20 sets of test questions. Curly Hair. His excited ears drooped. I know you read fast. You should be faster now, right? After you finish reading the 20 books in the folder and get full marks on the corresponding 20 sets of test questions, you will be allowed to play in the sea. It is estimated that we have less than 15 days before we move over, Fang Zhao said. Given Curly Hair's current memory and learning ability, getting full marks wasn't difficult at all. Fang Zhao wasn't worried about Curly Hair's safety when he went to the sea. On the contrary, he was worried that Curly Hair would eat some endangered species until they went extinct. Fang Zhao still didn't know how big Curly Hair's stomach was. During the recording of the program on Planet Boo, Curly Hair had secretly eaten in the desert and also in the ocean. However, because of Feng Zhao's warning, Curly Hair hadn't really eaten to his heart's content. After all, it hadn't stayed on Planet Boo for a long time, and it was under Feng Zhao's control. It also had to take into account the other people on Planet Boo, so it wouldn't be able to eat too much. However, after moving to a new home, Curly Hair would have the opportunity to go to the sea every day. If this wasn't regulated, it would be equivalent to a species invasion. The strength of a single dog would break the ecological balance of this sea region. Feng Zhao had to let Curly Hair understand some matters in advance. It hadn't been easy for marine life to recover to its current state. He couldn't let Curly Hair destroy it. If you don't pass the exam, you can't go to the sea and continue to be the learning machine's companion. One day, Nanfeng came looking for Feng Zhao regarding the renovation of his new residence. As soon as he entered the dormitory, Nanfeng saw Curly Hair facing the wall. Curly Hair was crouching listlessly with his head drooped. There were still traces of tears under his eyes. Nanfeng paused for a moment and shifted his gaze away. He went to look for Feng Zhao to resolve the matter at hand first. As for Curly Hair, this was normal. Nanfeng could already look on very calmly. After discussing the renovation, Nanfeng recalled what he had seen today and said, "Oh right, boss, do you know about what happened online today?" "What happened?" Feng Zhao was writing his thesis today. Nanfeng's communication settings were set so that he wouldn't be disturbed unless it was something important. During this period of time, there had been a lot of topics about him on the internet. There were also many people looking for him. Feng Zhao could only set his Do Not Disturb mode. "Do you know about Will's painting?" Nanfeng asked. "I do. Is it related to Will's graduation work?" Feng Zhao had seen Will's graduation art exhibition before. It had also received A+ marks. One of his graduation works was of Curly Hair. It was called My Neighbor's Dog. 2 days had passed since the art exhibition. Furthermore, Feng Zhao had been writing his thesis in his dormitory since morning, so he really didn't know what had happened online. Nanfeng told Feng Zhao what he had found out. It turned out that after Will's graduation art exhibition had ended, the school had put his painting up on display on the school's website, causing a lot of discussion. Will had successfully completed his advanced studies plan last year. His short-term goal was to paint Feng Zhao, and his final goal was to paint Feng Zhao's dog. His short-term goal had long been accomplished. Will's My Neighbor had caused a lot of discussion online. Some netizens had even joked that Will had drawn Feng Zhao like an alien. This time, after My Neighbor's Dog had once again made it to the top of the search rankings. My Neighbor's Dog had been the work that Will had spent the most time and effort on during his advanced studies. At the same time, it was also the work that Will was most satisfied with. The style of this painting was similar to My Neighbor, but it looked even more difficult to understand. In My Neighbor, one could at least make out a person, but in My Neighbor's Dog, one couldn't make out a dog. If one hadn't seen the name of the painting, one wouldn't have thought that it was a dog, or even a small pet dog. The colors were rich with vitality. It was mysterious and contained great boldness. It seemed excessively otherworldly, yet one couldn't tell what was wrong. The more one studied it, the more one's heart would tremble. Is Feng Zhao's dog really that scary? A Huang art student recalled the little curly-haired dog he had encountered on campus after seeing this painting. Then, he searched for Feng Zhao's dog online to confirm that he hadn't remembered wrongly. As for those at Huang Art who had heard Feng Zhao's graduation concert and analyzed Will's painting up close, they had a different feeling. If I really have to say, the feeling this painting gives me is similar to Feng Zhao's Ada. It's a little beyond the scope of ordinary people's understanding. Even if a layman stood in front of this painting and stared at it quietly for a few seconds, even if they couldn't understand it, they would feel goosebumps and their bodies would shiver uncontrollably. Online, the discussions were even more intense. I realized that after his advanced studies, Will has completely let loose. His thoughts are running wild, and it's not something we can understand. What kind of grudge is this? To actually draw Feng Zhao's dog like this. The friend above definitely hasn't seen Will's previous painting, My Neighbor. Let's see how Will draws Feng Zhao first. Maybe Will was bitten by a dog and has a phobia toward dogs. Otherwise, he wouldn't have drawn such a scary painting. A perfectly fine little cutie has been drawn into a monster. This is called art. The world of artists is indeed not something ordinary people like us can understand. I'm not exaggerating, but I've stared at the painting for a whole 5 minutes and still can't understand what he's trying to express, but I just feel that it's so awesome. There's even a weird feeling in my heart. This kind of painting belongs to a deeper level and needs to be studied in detail. This painting won't be easy to sell, right? We can buy it to ward off evil spirits. It's still worth investing in. I have high hopes for this artist. Will? He's still young. Actually, after Will's painting had been displayed on the school's website, there had been people who had approached him to buy the painting. Finally, a collector from Muzhou had bought the painting, My Neighbor's Dog, at a high price, far exceeding Huang Art's estimated price. Some people felt that this Muzhou collector was overly fanatical about curly hair. When facing curly hair, Muzhou people never seemed to be calm enough. There were also people who felt that this was pure hype. If it wasn't for Will, then it was for Fang Zhao's dog. The way Muzhou people treated dogs was indeed incomprehensible, as if they had lost their minds. With regards to this, Huangzhou television station's calligraphy and painting channel specially sent someone to interview the person who had bought the painting at a high price. During the interview, the Muzhou collector said, "Many people who buy Will's paintings invest in Will as a person and not the painting. I'm different. I look at the painting, and of course, I also look at the dog in the painting. I have a feeling that this painting will be hyped to a sky-high price in the future." Little Bear, who was watching the live broadcast, said, "Muzhou people really have a terrifying intuition when it comes to dogs. Humans are indeed peculiar creatures." Thus, because of Will's painting My Neighbor's Dog, curly hair also became a trending topic and appeared in the headlines of Huangzhou's current affairs. After Nanfeng left, Fang Zhao browsed through the news online and said to curly hair, "Don't go out these few days. Stand here for another 5 minutes before going back to study. You only scored 62 on the morning test. Look at the section on animal protection a couple more times. You can't even eat a whale. Corals can't be eaten either." Chapter 464. Curly Hair specially spent another 2 days memorizing the protected marine flora and fauna. He even paired them with videos and pictures to deepen his memory. He watched both the old era and the new era and memorized the appearances and habits of those animals. Curly Hair once again went all out in order to obtain the permit to swim freely in the ocean. The last time he had done this was to obtain his own helmet. Finally, Curly Hair's test scores went from barely passing to 70, 80, and then 90. Finally, he would pass after reinforcing his memory once more. Nanfeng had originally thought that Curly Hair would be a little moody after being cursed and unable to go out for walks because of the online matter. He hadn't expected that Curly Hair's vigor would increase day by day and not be affected in the slightest. Over at Huangzhou Institute of Art, Fang Zhao had already completed the follow-up work. Advanced courses had all ended, and after the other students in the advanced course had completed their final assessments, the institute held a graduation ceremony for the advanced students who had successfully completed Huang Art's 12 Tones advanced course and issued certificates. There weren't any complicated procedures. The vast majority of those who passed the 12 Tones were no longer ordinary students. They also leaned towards the academic side, so there was no need to do anything fancy. The graduation ceremony was held in Huang Art's highest academic hall. Great-grandfather Fang sat in the audience as a family member and watched Fang Zhao on stage. He was so moved that his eyes were brimming with tears as he took many photos and videos with trembling hands and posted them on WeChat Moments and the retirement facilities chat group. When the graduation ceremony ended, great-grandfather Fang quickly walked over to Fang Zhao. Let me see. Great-grandfather Fang carefully received the glowing certificate from Fang Zhao and grinned from ear to ear. Great-grandfather Fang took a few high-definition photos from multiple angles before returning it to Fang Zhao. Keep it well. Don't let a dog bite it. There's an old man in our retirement facility. His grandson keeps a dog, and in a moment of carelessness, The graduation certificate he just received was torn to shreds. It can't even be glued back together. Great-grandfather Fong glanced at Curly Hair as he spoke. Curly Hair's innocent dog eyes widened, as if he had suffered a great injustice. Great-grandfather Fong retracted his gaze and said to Fong Zhao, "Hey, in any case, you must keep it well. How many people receive the 12 Tones Advanced Courses certificate every year? The best advanced course in the industry. Those who passed were all masters. How precious was that? At the very least, none of the old fogies in the Yinbei City Retirement Facility had a family member with this certificate." After attending Fong Zhao's graduation ceremony and taking enough photos, great-grandfather Fong was satisfied. They had stayed in Huangzhou for too long, and it was time to return. Before leaving Huangzhou, great-grandfather Fong took a look at his gentle, sincere, and refined great-grandson. Still worried, he reminded Yin Biao and Zuoyu, "You guys must ensure little Zhao's personal safety. I heard that there are a lot of crazy fans these days, and competitors also use underhanded methods. My Xiao Zhao is just too good-tempered. He doesn't put up any defenses against others, and doesn't know how sinister people can be." Yin Biao and Zuoyu, "Do you still remember what happened during Fong Zhao's military service? Do you know how he became a reserve officer? Do you know how he tortures people when he's playing games? How thick of a filter did this old man wear to say something like that? Or did he selectively forget some important things because his memory had deteriorated due to old age? But then again, Fong Zhao did seem much gentler now. Could this be the influence of art?" Regardless of what they thought, Yin Biao and Zuoyu could only brace themselves and say to great-grandfather Fong, "Yes, we will definitely protect him." Great-grandfather Fong took another photo with Fong Zhao and left, satisfied. When Fong Zhao moved to his new place and had some free time, great-grandfather Fong would go take a look again. The advanced studies had temporarily come to an end, and the advanced students were about to leave. But before that, the advanced students would hold an academic conference report at Huangart. The audience was mainly students. It wasn't a formal academic conference report. The school's student council had even opened a live broadcast channel so that people who couldn't attend the report could watch it online. Fong Zhao didn't hide anything. He shared all the experiences and techniques he had learned during his year of advanced studies. The academic report lasted 2 hours, but the post-conference interaction and autograph signing activities lasted for 4 hours. Many people even suggested that Fong Zhao stay at the school. Given Fong Zhao's current ability and honors, it was enough for him to become a lecturer at Huangart. Sigh, how great would it be if Fong Zhao could stay at Huangart forever? Some students lamented. But not long after, they realized that even though Fong Zhao had left, he would always appear in the exam questions. After completing his year of advanced studies and leaving Huangart, Fong Zhao returned to Yinzhou to pack up and move. The weather was perfect, so Fong Zhao moved from Yinzhou's Qi and city center to the seaside. Perhaps it had smelled the scent of the sea, but the rabbit was especially lively today. It moved around in the water tank, its 2 ears trying to probe outside. Fong Zhao found someone to custom-make a large aquarium and transferred the rabbit from the small water tank to the large box. In its new home, the rabbit crawled around in the aquarium, looking like a fluffy moving marshmallow. However, this cotton candy nearly stung 2 burglars to death. It was a perfect disguise. It wasn't just the overly colorful ones that were lethal. There were also those that looked overly cute. Curly Hair was the happiest about moving. He had finally completed his tests the day before moving. Early in the morning, he had been running around, urging Fong Zhao to move. Curly Hair watched as the collection rack was moved into the house and saw that none of the gaming helmets were missing. Curly Hair wanted to store his learning console in the collection rack and lock it, but Fong Zhao took it out. "The learning console still needs to be used," Fong Zhao said. Curly Hair whimpered a few times and walked out with his tail drooping. Then, he became excited again and couldn't wait to patrol his new territory. Zuoyu held onto Curly Hair's leash. Dogs had a strong sense of territory. It was in their nature to occupy their own territory. Curly Hair was very happy patrolling his new home. He also let out a few howls to greet the other dogs in the residential area. From today onwards, he was going to stay here. By the time Feng Zhao finished tidying up, the sky had already darkened. He let Yin Biao and the other two go back first and gave them 2 days off. After the three of them left, Curly Hair, who had been lying at the door, jogged over. "I want to go swimming in the sea," Curly Hair said. "Just swimming?" Feng Zhao asked. "While I'm at it," Curly Hair cautiously observed Feng Zhao's expression. Hungry. The restrictions during his advanced studies at Huang Art were too great. Curly Hair didn't have enough to eat most of the time. He would only sneak around to find something to eat when Feng Zhao brought him out. He had really been starving this year. Feng Zhao had long noticed that Curly Hair's appetite had been increasing. His diet had also expanded. Curly Hair would sniff things he hadn't been interested in the past, as if to determine if they were edible. Once, Curly Hair had sniffed the car for quite a while. Nanfeng had thought that the car had been tampered with and had immediately sent the car for an inspection. In the end, they discovered that apart from some unknown scratches, there weren't any other problems. Later, Feng Zhao had asked Curly Hair about it. Curly Hair had said that he had been hungry and had smelled food. Curly Hair knew what was edible and what wasn't. Even if he hadn't seen it before, he could tell. In the past, he hadn't had the conditions to eat to his heart's content. Now that he had moved to a new home, it was a rare opportunity to eat to his heart's content. Curly Hair naturally didn't want to let it go and wasn't willing to wait any longer. He had already endured for a long time today. He had waited until Nanfeng and the other two had left before suggesting that he wanted to go out and forage for food. Feng Zhao checked the weather forecast. The next 2 days would be sunny. Since he had already passed the test and Curly Hair could answer a few more questions quickly and accurately, Feng Zhao felt that letting him go out for a while was good. However, it was easy to be noticed during the day. There were activities in the small communities near the coast. Feng Zhao had even seen someone fishing on a yacht in the distance. Curly Hair choosing to go out at night was perfect. "Sure," Feng Zhao replied. "I want to swim a little further to find something to eat," Curly Hair said. "Be back before 8 tomorrow morning." He wanted to play a little longer. Feng Zhao thought about it and agreed. "Pay attention to the weather and avoid boats. Return immediately if you notice anything amiss." "Yes. Remember, protected animals can't be eaten." "Not eating. Definitely not eating. Don't eat randomly either." "I won't eat randomly," Curly Hair promised. "Go then." Curly Hair ran out and dashed into the sea under the cover of the night. After playing for a while, Curly Hair became even hungrier and decided to eat something first. Even if Feng Zhao couldn't see it, it wouldn't dare to eat anything that was considered a protected species in the sea, not even a single fin. After all, this was the first time it had run out, so it wasn't that daring. The moment it thought of eating, the first thing that came to its mind was the books Feng Zhao had shown it, the test questions in the learning console, and the need to reflect on itself. As for anything other than protecting animals, there was no need to hold back. It was time to eat. At the same time, Curly Hair was also a little perplexed. Where should I start? This was the first time he had ventured out alone to hunt freely in the ocean. His first prey should be special. Was this the sense of ceremony that Nanfeng had mentioned previously? Curly Hair searched carefully for his first prey of the day. It wasn't easy for him to find one. From its appearance, it looked like a type of fish from the Protected Species Encyclopedia. However, it only looked like it. Curly Hair could tell that this fish was different with one look and quickly analyzed many pieces of evidence. Even if Feng Zhao asked him about it, he would be able to answer confidently. Curly Hair would have more confidence when he removed this fish from the Protected Species category. Although this prey wasn't considered big and wasn't even a meter long, it was very attractive to Curly Hair. After confirming the target, Curly Hair paddled and chased after it. 1 a.m. A certain anti-terrorism department in Yinzhou was still working hard. The night patrol team has yet to discover any suspicious personnel. The sonar array has yet to discover any suspicious targets. Continue to strengthen the defense of the target area. Pay attention to patrols and coastal detection. Carefully screen for any abnormal sounds and energy fluctuations. Don't let a single bird or fish escape. They had received news that the infamous Tomorrow's Empire Organization, or T, would launch an attack on Yinzhou at 2 a.m. Yinzhou time. They only knew the general area, but the exact location was unknown. Furthermore, T organization had stolen the latest bionic technology. Nobody knew what kind of modifications those lunatics had carried out. At the same time, in a secret underground room, in the dusky underground room, only the flickering light of a screen could be seen. 7 or 8 people were either standing or sitting, staring at one of the screens. Successfully bypassed a patrol boat. One person exclaimed excitedly. His bloodthirsty eyes scanned the area marked with a blood-red T on the map beside him. They had formulated a new plan. This was the first operation in their plan, a test, to use the newly developed bionic torpedo to attack a port 100 kilometers away from Yinzhou's Qi and city. Although there was only one bionic torpedo released this time, the high-energy material it carried was enough to destroy dozens of cargo ships at the port and cause a strong impact on the port. Bypassing those patrol boats was within their expectations. Resisting the coastal defense was the key. Smoothly approaching. Almost there. The person holding the controller stared unblinkingly at the dot on the screen. They were about to enter Yinzhou's coastal defense range, so he had to be even more cautious. At the same time, he wanted to see if this new product they had modified could successfully deceive Yinzhou's defense system. As long as this attack was a success, the follow-up operation could immediately begin. Everyone in the underground room stared at the screen with rapt attention. Just as they were about to enter Yinzhou's coastal defense range, just as everyone was holding their breath and waiting, the dot on the screen suddenly disappeared. Everyone in the underground room. In that instant, they suspected that their eyes were playing tricks on them. The person holding the controller froze for a moment. "Where's my torpedo?" When they looked again, it had indeed disappeared. It had vanished cleanly. They had been caught off guard. This sudden turn of events made the people in the underground room panic. They had thought of many possible scenarios, but the one before them had never occurred. It was like it was over before a splash could even be made. The psychological impact was too great. They could not accept it. What's going on? Lost contact with the bionic torpedo. No energy reaction detected. Reason unknown. Impossible. Could it be a display malfunction? No. The display is fine, the controller is fine, but the torpedo is not responding. They had paid a huge price, poured in a lot of manpower and resources, and spent a lot of time and effort to come up with the current product. Just like that, it had disappeared without a trace? Is Yinzhou's coastal defense already this strong? No, I don't believe it. The lips of the person holding the controller trembled. His face was twisted and sinister, and his bloodshot eyes were filled with unwillingness and madness. He could not accept this kind of failure. Another person sitting in the corner had a gloomy expression. Inform the others. All operations are to be halted immediately. First, find out how their coastal defense system intercepted it. They had spent a considerable amount of time formulating a plan to attack Yinzhou. The first link had failed. Elsewhere, Yinzhou's anti-terrorism department was also puzzled. They waited and waited. Even after 2 in the morning, they did not dare relax or be careless. They continued to wait until 7 in the morning. There was no movement at all. That bunch of lunatics from the T organization would not stop so easily. Even if they knew the information had been leaked, they would not stop. Instead, they would continue to provoke them. However, this time, they did not receive any news of an unknown attack until daybreak. The land was calm, and the sea was also very calm. Logically speaking, there should not be any detection blind spots. Why was there no movement? Strange. Could it be that the information was wrong? The night gradually receded, and the clouds began to brighten. The rays of the morning sun shone on the surface of the sea, dispersing the chill of the night. Whoosh! A dog's head emerged from the water. The dog's nose snorted, as if suddenly remembering that it could still breathe. It moved a little and inhaled the morning's humid air. Curly hair slowly swam towards the beach. his doggy legs kicking up some splashes in sand. He shook his fur in a carefree manner after coming ashore. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.